You're listening to the Team 1040 Vancouver.
Offered insight when I've asked them, but I was told, a long time ago, Bob Clark would kick his grandmother down a flight of stairs if he would give him a better chance of winning, and that's what it comes down to.
Presented by Nedco Cellular and brought to you in part by Tireland. This is special Team 1040 coverage of the 2006 Canucks training camp. Live from Vernon, here's Jeff Paterson.
3 minutes after 11 o'clock on this Saturday morning, the Vancouver Canucks have taken their training camp on the road, and we have taken this show on the road as well. Good morning, coming your way rinkside. In fact, we are at ice level, just a stone's throw away from the ice. In fact, they are cleaning as we speak right now. Right off the top of the program, getting ready for the second of two on-ice sessions. Vancouver Canucks breaking up the 50 guys that they have here in training camp 2006 into the two groups. First one has already been out there, an hour and 15-minute skate this morning. Alain Vigneault has said since he took over the coaching reins of this hockey team that it would be about pace and tempo and work ethic and everything else that, most coaches at a high level will tell you. So far the guy has been good to his word. Another brisk practice this morning, and as they are just finishing up the ice, the second group is going to come out on the ice. This is the first of two 3-hour training camp shows here on the Team 1040 as we count things down to the start of the preseason Tuesday night in Calgary. And the Vancouver Canucks are going to slap on the uniforms. At least some of the guys here in training camp will throw on the jerseys. For some, it'll be the first time they've stepped into a Canuck uniform, and for some, it'll probably be the last chance they get this year in a Vancouver Canuck uniform. It is a compressed preseason schedule, 8 games, 11 nights, and away they go when they open up the season on the 4th of October in Detroit. And a lot has been made about the way that the Canucks' schedule starts in 2006-2007 with 2 lengthy road trips in the first month of the season. And again, it calls into question, how quickly can Alain Vigneault unite this group that was so fractured. So much has been made of the fissure that was in that dressing room last year, and more being made again today in a column by Ian McIntyre in the Vancouver Sun. If you haven't read that, we'll touch on that as we move along here. A couple of things to set the stage and basically tell you what we have planned for you here as the Team 1040 ramps up its coverage of the Vancouver Canucks. And yes, looking forward, everybody at the Team 1040, looking forward to Tuesday night as we get a chance to host the first Vancouver Canuck broadcast here on the radio station. John Shorthouse, Tom Larscheid here in Vernon. You're going to hear from them over the next couple of days. Basically, a bit of a radio free-for-all. We don't have any set schedule. We are here. We're sitting right by the side of the rink, and we're in a perfect vantage point for tomorrow's scrimmage. And we'll be on the air as the puck drops for that scrimmage tomorrow. So certainly we will have all the latest as it happens tomorrow. But you are going to hear from Canuck players and management when Alain Vigneault holds his daily session with the media about an hour and a half from now. We will carry that live here on the Team 1040. So you will hear from the head coach his thoughts on day number 2. And again, it's all about you, the hockey fan in Vancouver, throughout the province of British Columbia, trying to enhance that Vancouver Canuck experience on the radio. And anything that happens here at training camp, you are going to hear about it here on the Team 1040. And with that in mind, let's jump right into some of the questions, obviously, coming into this camp. Right wing on the top 2 lines, who was going to get a chance to play with Marcus Naslund and Brendan Morrison, and who would get the opportunity to play in the spot filled so well by Anson Carter last year on the right side with Daniel and Henrik Sedin. Well, yesterday, Alain Vigneault took a little bit of a different approach as he split up Marcus Naslund and Brendan Morrison in their on-ice session. So really there wasn't a right side on that top line, if we can continue to call Morrison and Naslund the top line of the Vancouver Canucks. Well, here's something we have not seen during their time in the Vancouver Canuck organization. At least we haven't seen much of it. Daniel and Henrik split up today. They were out there in the morning session. They're doing their dryland training now. But Henrik Sedin centering a line with Jan Bulis and Gordy Dwyer, a journeyman tough guy trying to make this hockey team. I think he's going to be in tough, but certainly he brings some muscle. Which is something I think the Canucks can use up front. There is that element that seems to be lacking with this hockey team. I don't know if Gordy Dwyer is the guy. He's bounced around, played over 100 games in the National Hockey League, but has spent most of his time in pro hockey at the minor league level. Anyways, today he was on the left side with Henrik Sedin in the middle, Jan Bulis on the right side, Daniel Sedin on the left side on the line with Rick Rippon in the middle, and the veteran Trevor Linden on right wing. Alain Vigneault putting 3 big guys, maybe his 3 or 3 of his biggest forwards together. And again, I just don't know what you read into this. I mean, the drill this morning, mostly skating and tempo and work ethic and all those things we touched on. You know, certainly not a hint of a scrimmage, a few line rushes, but really these are just glorified practices now, and I think Alain Vigneault is just trying to let these guys know, his style, his systems, and what it is that he's going to demand and expect from them on a daily basis once the season begins. So take these with a grain of salt, but these were the line combinations that they skated with here in Vernon today. And when I talk about putting three of the biggest guys together, Marc Chouinard, who does stand out. I mean, this guy is 6'5", 6'5", just over 200 pounds. So he's lanky, but he's a big body down the middle. And I think that was one of the things that, the Canucks thought maybe they were lacking a little bit. Always that talk about the Vancouver Canucks over the years and their lack of a, true bona fide big center iceman. I mean, Marc Chouinard's going to be a depth guy, a third or fourth liner, but he's got the big body. He can bang and crash. Chouinard was centering a line with Taylor Pyatt on the left side, Lee Gorin on right wing, and actually, just watching these skates this morning, and it's so hard to read into anything. It's hard to draw any conclusions, but I have to say that I thought Taylor Pyatt looked like he had a little bit of a jump in his step. And we'll see what he can do ultimately for this hockey team. A big guy with big expectations, first rounder back in 1999, that same draft year of Daniel and Henrik Sedin, acquired from Buffalo in the offseason. And Taylor Pyatt brings his 6'2" or 6'4", 210-pound frame here to camp. Only 25, and that's the upside with this guy, is that he's been injured a little bit. I don't think he's reached his potential. And he looked like he had some spring in his step today. Ryan Kessler centering a line with Jesse Schultz on the right side and a prospect by the name of Juraj Šimek on left wing. And then the has-beens, basically guys that probably will never wear Canuck uniforms, although Nathan Smith has. But he still continues to linger in the organization, former first-rounder that didn't ever pan out. Nathan Smith with Marc-Andre Bernier and Steve Gainey, who, yes, is the son of Bob Gainey. Canucks could have used Bob Gainey last year at times. So when they were having problems in their own end, they could have used Bob Gainey. They've got his son Steve here, who has bounced around from a couple of organizations, drafted by Dallas, played some in Phoenix, and Stephen Gainey here on a tryout contract. I think Manitoba is probably the best option for him. Most of the regular defensemen, although there aren't many guys back from last year, obviously, given the turnover with this hockey team. But as far as the familiar names go, well, Willie Mitchell's a newcomer, but he's a familiar name. Willie Mitchell was the biggest name on defense in the morning session. And the three goaltenders going with the young guys out there this morning, Drew McIntyre, Julian Ellis, and Alexander Vincent. So what that means is, as we come to you for the next 3 hours, the second group, which is sitting at the bench now, getting set to step onto the ice in a matter of moments, will contain the likes of Brendan Morrison, Marcus Naslund, Matt Cook, Tyler Bouk, Alexander Burrows, Josh Green, Luke Bourdon will be out there, Sammy Salo, Matthias Olin, Lucas Krajcek, and, of course, Roberto Luongo and Wade Flaherty. They got their two veteran goaltenders out there in this session coming up. And if you're listening and wondering about line combinations, again, trying to read between the lines, if you will, and don't knock yourself out trying to do this, believe me. Alain Vigneault said right off the hop here at training camp, he wanted to give guys opportunities. He wanted to see what guys could do with different looks, and I think that's all that the management group of the Vancouver Canucks doing right now, is just trying to roll guys through on different lines, see if there is something, if there's something that stands out to them that maybe would warrant taking a longer look. But this is the way they're going to skate here in the second session on day number 2 of Training Camp 2006 in Vernon. Brendan Morrison is going to center a line with Josh Green on the left side, and Yannick Hansen, a guy that played for Portland in the Western Hockey League last year, he will be on the right side. Marcus Naslund playing right wing with Tommy Santala and Alexander Burrows. Brad Moran, kid out of Abbotsford, who is here after a year in Switzerland last year. Brad Moran has Matt Cook on his left side, and Michael Grabner, the Canucks first-round pick this past June from Spokane. Michael Grabner getting a chance to play with Matt Cook and Brad Moran. Other line combinations, Brandon Reed at center, Tyler Bouk on his left, Mike Brown, a kid from the University of Michigan who played in Manitoba last year with the Moose. He is on the right side, and then they have a couple of spare parts, 2 extra forwards here in this second session of the day. Defensive pairings, Sammy Salo and Luke Bourdon are going to skate together. Matthias Olin is paired with a youngster by the name of Maxine Fortunas, who played last year for Alain Vigneault down with the Moose in Manitoba. We are here. We are at the Vernon District Multiplex. If you haven't been in this facility, it's the second time the Canucks have had a training camp here in the city of Vernon and in this terrific junior hockey facility. They don't build bad junior hockey rinks anymore. I mean, if they're putting the money in and they're building one from the ground on up, they're going to do a nice job, and they've done that here in Vernon. 3,003 seats, standing room for another 600, so capacity just over 3,600. And my guess as I look into the stands right now, probably in the neighborhood of 1,000, 1,200. They were expecting maybe close to 2,000 at some point during this day, and we'll see how that goes. But it is a Saturday, lots of minor hockey going on here in the other rinks in the vicinity and in Vernon as well, so maybe tough for some youngsters to get out here. I know yesterday they had school field trips on hand. I have been told that every seat is already spoken for the one and only scrimmage here at Training Camp 2006 tomorrow. So they'll have a jam-packed place. We will be on the air during that. Should be some fun as, again, whatever happens, that's the beauty of a live 3-hour talk show from Training Camp. Whatever happens, you will hear about it first right here on the Team 1040. Back to this building for a second. Great facility. They needed one. If you've been to Vernon and if you had seen the old rink across the street, if you had had a chance to play in it, Vernon was a city that was desperately in need of a facility like this one, and people around the country taking notice. As I mentioned, the Canucks were here in 2003. They are back here in 2006. This has been home base for the reality hockey show on CBC, Making the Cut. They just wrapped up their second series of shooting in the summer here, so Making the Cut has jumped on this facility, and as well they announced yesterday while the Canucks training camp was going on that it's the home of the Vernon Vipers of the BC Hockey League, and in December this building will play host to a Junior A top prospects game. So all the best draft eligible players in Junior A hockey from coast to coast in this country will gather here second week of December, and they will play host to a prospects game. So it is a terrific facility. They're doing a nice job, and the Canucks seem to be appreciative of all that the people of Vernon have done for them, and I know that I can speak as well on the behalf of the Team 1040. The people here in Vernon have been terrific to us as well. Lots to get into, obviously, over the course of 3 hours. The 3 hours that we are on the air here, and certainly we want to open it up to your participation as well. So let's throw the phone lines open right off the top here at any point if you want to jump in. You've got questions about things that are going on here at camp, or you want to weigh in. We'll certainly get into some of the issues that are facing this Vancouver Canucks hockey team. Many that have been discussed. We'll try to bring some of our own to the table. Phone numbers, as always, 280-TEAM, 280-8326. Free call on your cell at Star Team. If you want to jump on board, and we can start the phone lines right now. Lines are open, 280-TEAM, 280-8326, or free call on your cell at Star Team. Of course, it's a football night here on the Team 1040. The Lions, the Montreal Alouettes, 7 o'clock kickoff. Note that time as well. Before Labor Day, 7:30 starts at BC Place Stadium. After Labor Day, bump it back a little bit. 7 o'clock is the start of the football game at BC Place Stadium. We don't wait that long to start our football discussion, though. 2-hour pregame, full 2-hour pregame here on the Team 1040. The Lions trying to make it 2 straight wins against this Montreal Alouette team after smoking them 48-13 a couple of weeks ago with this crazy schedule the Lions have been through. Leo's looking for their 7th consecutive victory. If they get it, means Montreal is going to suffer its 5th straight loss. And you can hear a slight cheer in the background. Players have taken the ice here for the second of 2 sessions on the ice of the Vernon and District Multiplex. As Roberto Luongo comes down the tunnel, he gets the loudest roar, and obviously a guy that was in the spotlight yesterday and will be all season long, and a lot to talk about when you come to Roberto Luongo. I had a chance to visit with him yesterday. We'll certainly throw some thoughts out there. 280-TEAM, 280-8326, Star Team on the cell. The phone number, it is live from Training Camp 2006 in Vernon. We'll get a break in for a sports update. We'll come back, get to your phone calls. John Shorthouse, play-by-play voice of the Vancouver Canucks here on the Team 1040. He will join us. Several media members, guys that are gathered. We'll just bring guys in and out again. A little bit of a free-for-all, a little bit of freestyling, if you will, on the first of our 2 shows. Tomorrow with the scrimmage, we'll have a little bit more to break down and maybe get an idea of who's going to play with whom and who's starting to emerge as guys that we should be keeping an eye on as we move along here. One other thing that you will hear over the course of the next couple of days, we all know, people in the media, Canuck fans, whomever. I mean, you know what you're going to get with Marcus Naslund and Brendan Morrison and Tias Olin and the veteran guys, and a lot has been made of the acquisition of Roberto Luongo, and you've heard from him, and you've heard from guys like Willie Mitchell. One of the beauties of training camp, in my mind, are the stories. the guys that are here, I mean, everybody has a story, but so many of these guys are here, whether trying to make a team for the first time, or maybe they've bounced around from organization to organization. We're going to give you a chance to meet some of the guys that I think are going to be Vancouver Canucks that maybe you haven't heard a lot about, maybe that you will hear about in weeks ahead. But a guy like a Yannick Tremblay, who has played in the National Hockey League, signed in the offseason, has a bit of a history with Alain Vigneault. I think there's probably a role for him when you look at 4 through 7 on the back end of this hockey team. Certainly some questions about depth when it comes to the blue line of the Vancouver Canucks. You will hear from Yannick Tremblay. Had a chance to visit with him here yesterday in Vernon. Josh Green with his new contract. Tyler Boak, another guy that, it's funny with all the turnover. Tyler Boak now has seniority in this organization, and yet he's really never been able to crack the lineup on a regular basis. So we'll get into that with some of these guys and a whole bunch more as training camp 2006 rolls on from Vernon. Jeff Paterson here on the Team 1040, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Carries down into the corner. Now Cook picks it up. He's got Salo in front. There's the pass. Salo fake shoots. Oh! Net. I don't know if Kipperson got a piece of it. Morrison scores. Brendan Morrison came from behind the net on the backhand. He tucked it in, and the Canucks win it 4-3 in overtime.
They had to have it tonight. They had to have it tonight, and they did it.
Yeah, they had to have that. They needed a few more, in fact, last year, as the Canucks obviously didn't make the playoffs, so the building blocks have been replaced, or at least been changed in the offseason, and the building blocks being put back into place here in Vernon, training camp 2006. And we're having a little bit of a dispute off the air here because, being the nice guy that I am, I thought I would furnish our guests. I don't have, I don't have much of a budget. Come on, it's a weekend show. So, I stopped by Tim Hortons. I brought Timbits, and
they're all gone.
The rule was that, if somebody was going to have one, it was going to cost them a 5-minute appearance here on the program. Shorty ate like 15 of them.
No, I didn't. I had 2.
And he says that he's good for 10 minutes. I'm not so sure. You heard John Shorthouse calling the Brendan Morrison overtime goal against Calgary. He may get a chance to do that. Brendan Morrison may get a chance to do it. You may get a chance to call it. You'll be calling the game regardless. 72 hours.
I know.
You're going to work on Tuesday night.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is.
If there's going to be an overtime goal, by the way, chances are it's going to be Brendan Morrison. He is the franchise leader in regular season overtime goals. He had a pretty big one in Game 6 against Calgary a couple years ago. But speaking of Calgary, they're right. Yep. Tuesday night. And that'll be the first of a lot of things. First Canuck game on this station, these airwaves, Team 1040, with the first of many 2-hour pregame shows. I believe we're on the air at 4 with play-by-play action at 6 from the Saddle Dome.
Who are we kidding? It's started right here today.
I know.
The pregame show this is the pregame show for the football game tonight, but yeah, that's the beauty of an all-sports station.
That's right.
You just keep throwing it out there, and we know that obviously there's a huge fan base hungry for any and all information about this Vancouver Canuck hockey team, and there will be lots of information to be garnered over the coming weeks because there are a lot of questions, obviously, as we work our way to the start of the regular season.
Well, there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of stories. Isn't it refreshing to come to a camp where there are a lot of unknowns and a lot of new faces? And, I know the last number of camps that you and I have covered, there was just really lacking in in angles in terms of reporting on it. How many times could you hear the same guy that you talked to 3 years in a row say he's in the best shape of his life and he's going to have a great season and blah, blah, blah. It's just fun to see some new people here and new faces and all kinds of stories with a lot of job openings, and that's the interesting part.
It is, and in some way, I feel like I'm disappointing the listeners because I wanted to come to the air today to be able to at least share something, but it is so hard to pull anything out of basically the first day and a half. It's just been skating drills, Alain Vigneault saying, here's who I am, this is the way I'm going to conduct business. Really hard to sort of pick apart what we've seen out here through a day and a half.
Let me ask you this, because I'll tell you how I respond to this, but when people ask you, how are the Canucks going to do this year, what's your answer?
It's a stock one, and I say it's impossible to know.
I know. I don't have any clue whether this team is going to win the conference, is going to struggle to make the playoffs, is maybe, going to languish lower down in the standings. I don't have any. I'm excited. about the possibilities, and I'm anticipating a good year, and I'm thrilled that we're going to get to see Roberto Luongo play goal for the Vancouver Canucks. But at the end of the day, I have no clue what this team is going to be like.
You know what I've found funny so far about the last week, basically. Although, I mean, it's been an ongoing thing all off season. Is this team can now move forward without Todd Bertuzzi. Todd Bertuzzi's not here anymore. The team can move forward. Well, on the eve of training camp, Tony has his chat with Todd Bertuzzi. That becomes the focal point of the last week with this hockey team. Ian McIntyre with a column in the Sun today talking more about moving on without Todd. But, he's not here, but yet he still seems to be a hot topic here at training camp.
I'm hoping that's it. There's two topics that I'm already tired of. I'm tired of Todd Bertuzzi.
Yes. And
I'm tired of goalie graveyard. And I think Roberto Luongo is already tired of goalie graveyard.
Yeah, I don't to be perfectly honest, and I mean, I'm born and raised in Vancouver. I understand the history of it all, but I don't know how that can apply to every new guy that comes to town. I mean, the history of the city isn't going to run Roberto Luongo into the ground. It's not.
No. And I don't know. I mean, how was Vancouver a goalie graveyard to Dan Cloutier? I mean, how many years did he play here? How many 30-win seasons did he have? I mean, it's not like he came like a Felix Potvin for, how many number of months, and then got basically run out of town because he couldn't get it done. I mean, I think people just latch on to I don't know, sexy stories, if you will, and want to
alliteration too. I think people like alliteration.
Yeah, alliteration's a good thing.
Well, it works. Goalie graveyard.
It's a good headline.
That said, let's get into a couple of things with this hockey team, and sorry, to backtrack for a sec. The Bertuzzi thing, I think, will die down here.
Yeah, I didn't mean we can't talk about it now.
No, that's fine. Hey, it's my show. I'll tell you what we know. But one of the reasons it is an issue is that he's next door. Not next door here, but Calgary. Florida's playing in Calgary tomorrow.
No, I know.
And I saw James Cybulski was down in Colorado on TSN. I know Dan Murphy from Sportsnet is supposed to go to Calgary. I think Sarah Orlesky is here in Vernon. She's supposed to be going for the score. They're still trying to make this Bertuzzi thing a big story. Florida training in Vail, Colorado, coming up to play in Calgary, play in Edmonton. And then I hope once they move on back home, the distance maybe will allow all of us to put some distance between the...
Until January
7th.
Yeah,
yes.
And then, I mean, that's going to be a gong show, and there's no way you can avoid that. Barring Todd staying home and not playing. But, I hope so, too. If you're going to move forward and if you're going to say things are behind you, then you actually have to physically allow it to happen. And I know the Canucks don't control the media rights or reports, but I know from a players and coaches and management standpoint, they're ready to turn the page.
Well, they're out there on the ice. Second group. Again, this is the group. If you're just joining us, we're coming to you live from Vernon Canucks training camp in real time, basically on your radio is what it amounts to. First of 2 3-hour programs will be on the air tomorrow as well, 11 until 2 o'clock. But the second group here this afternoon with more of the big names, Marcus Naslund, Brendan Morrison, Matt Cook, Luc Bourdon, Roberto Luongo, in fact, tending the goal about 20 feet to our immediate right. And Canucks working on more offensive drills. But they're really... you talk about training camp, you try to find answers, and again, Alain Vigneault is still trying to, I think, basically just figure out who's who. I mean, they got 50 guys here. It's got to be tough for a new coach coming into the organization, even though he coached last year down in Manitoba. But still, I mean, it's 50 faces that he's got to try to figure out, and then from that, try to determine who is going to play with whom. But we touched on Luongo. I'm just curious to get your take, and pretty much anybody that's going to roll through here will certainly get into this as these days roll on. But, I mean, what will make this a successful season, do you think, for Roberto Luongo?
In terms of statistics or wins or...
I think an open-ended question.
I think a playoff berth, and I think that has to be the benchmark right now for the team as a whole. People might say, "Oh goodness, I mean, have we sunk to that point now? We're just making the playoffs is the goal." Well, I think in the way the NHL is now, and I think parity is just going to be the catchphrase of each season because of the salary cap. I think your goal is simply to find a way into the top 8. The fact that Roberto Luongo has never made it to the postseason, I think then you can say that for him to have a successful year is for the team to finish in the top 8. I don't think it matters too much what his numbers are, too much, how many wins he gets. Obviously, he's going to get the bulk of them if they're going to make the playoffs because he's, penciled in to play 65 or 70 games, we believe. But I don't think statistically it matters so much on a personal level. It's just whether or not they get into the postseason.
Well, it was a busy guy last year. I mean, he faced more than 300 shots than any other goaltender in the National Hockey League. And you think about that for a sec. I mean, it's an awful lot of rubber. I don't think he wants to be that busy. He wants to be busy in terms of playing X amount of games, but I don't think he wants to be facing 40 and 45 shots the way he was last year. And I don't think he will here in Vancouver.
Well, and you can't. If he wants to play the number of games he does. And, I know the travel in Florida isn't exactly a cup of tea. I mean, Florida isn't like right in the middle of the Eastern Conference. Make no mistake. But there are going to be travel issues, too. For Roberto Luongo playing here in the Western Conference for the first time and playing 70 games or in that neighborhood might be a little more challenging now that he's playing for a team out of Vancouver. The Canucks are traditionally one of the top 2 or 3 most traveled teams in the league. Fatigue does set in. It's not an excuse. It's a fact of life. And that's something he's going to have to combat as well.
Training camp here to answer questions again, and we can sit here and talk about Luongo. We can talk about Marcus Naslund. They're going to be on this hockey team. They're going to be big parts of this hockey team in the remaining moments that we have with you based on your
Timbit.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to maximize your stay here on the program. And again, phone line's open, by the way, if you want to jump on board. 280-TEAM, 280-8326, or a free call on your cell at Star Team will get you through here all the way to Vernon. We'd love to hear from you on anything we've touched on, anything that you want to bring up about this Vancouver Canucks hockey team, past, present, or certainly future as well. Let's get down to the guys that are on the bubble, and there are a bunch of them with the new faces, but of the guys that you have seen play in Vancouver Canucks uniforms, and I'm talking of the Tyler Bouts and the Josh Greens and a Brandon Reed who is back and trying to reestablish his place in this organization. Who do you think are the best stories, and who would you like to see have a strong camp and maybe get an opportunity or more of an opportunity than he's had in the past?
Well, I'm glad you brought up Brandon Reed because he's an intriguing one to me. Tyler Bouk is another name you mentioned. Tyler Bouk, you know what you're going to get. Tyler Bouk is an industrious, hardworking, which is the same word basically, but he will give you what you expect. Brandon Reed hasn't played in the NHL since the NHL clamped down on obstruction, and he's a guy. He's a pepper pot, as Tom Larscheid would say. He's like a little water bug on the ice. The way he moves around, and with a little more space, and a little more opportunity to showcase his creativity. His size may become less and less of an issue, and he's a guy who might be able to contribute. So there's a guy I'm interested in seeing because people have said, well, where's the offense going to come from? Where are the goals going to come from? Well, no offense to Tyler Bouk, who I'm very fond of as a person and a player, but I think the offensive upside is a lot less than a guy like Brandon Reed, and that's why I'm curious to see how he does here at camp and in the preseason. He's going to get a good look, I think.
Well, we'll see. I mean, so much made of the new NHL. And Brandon Reed was a guy that, in very small spurts when he played. I think he only played 14 games or something late in that season 3 years ago. And at times, he didn't look out of place. But at that time, it was a big man's game. Now it seems that there are more opportunities.
Just think of how exciting and fun it might be to see a line that might be something like Brandon Reed with Alex Burrows and Matt Cook. And not to take anything from Matt Cook, who I think has designs on a much more, spotlighted role with this team and may well get it and may well deserve it. But, just the thought of an energy line like that with speed and scoring and excitement, those possibilities I'm quite excited about.
Well, we'll see. It is Canucks training camp, day number 2, day 2 of 4. It's a quick camp. It's an in and out, really. 4 days here in Vernon, and then that first preseason game Tuesday night. John Shorthouse, Tom Larscheid on the Team 1040. Have you sort of got that down now?
Still getting used to it.
I know.
I hope I get a mulligan or two. I'm not sure I will get a mulligan or two, given the amount of money that changed hands back in the spring. But,
well, I know everybody around the radio station certainly excited. Obviously, it's going to be a big night Tuesday, and then an even bigger night when the regular season begins in Detroit. It is a tough schedule. I know a lot's been made of it, but there's just no denying that out on the road, as much as they are there in the month of October, we'll see how that plays itself out.
Well, I've said, on numerous occasions since the schedule came out, if you're going to have a road-intensive portion, I'd rather do it right off the hop. The guys are fresh. They're excited to be together. There's no road weariness yet. If you're going to play a stretch of 9 out of 11 on the road, 11 out of 14, why not do it right in October and see how it goes?
All right, get back to watching. Thanks for stopping by. Your Timbit time is up. The meter has expired. Training camp coverage on the Team 1040 brought to you by Nedco Cellular, your Rogers wireless dealer. Get the Rogers 7130G BlackBerry on your hockey bag today. Nedco Cellular, 1807 Burrard. And presented by Tireland for quality products like Michelin, BF Goodrich, and Uniroyal with exceptional service at a competitive price. You can trust the pros at Tireland. Tireland with over 40 locations to serve you. It is the Team 1040's extensive training camp coverage from the Vernon and District Multiplex. Fine 3,000-seat facility in the northern Okanagan. And we are here until 2 o'clock this afternoon as the players are made available. First session off the ice already, guys doing dry land, and then they're brought out to the media. We put in a request for Ryan Kessler, among others. So as guys become available, we'll just wheel them through our broadcast location just off the ice at the Zamboni end of this building, and certainly we will crank up our coverage as things move along. We're going to get a sports update in. We will come back. More from Vernon. We thank John Shorthouse for stopping by, and you'll hear more from Shorty tomorrow after the scrimmage as well, and then certainly all season long right here on the new home of the Vancouver Canucks, Team 1040. We're back to training camp right after this. Phone lines open as we come your way from Vernon here on this Saturday morning. 280-TEAM, 280-8326. Star Team, a free call on your cell. Second of two groups still going through workout drills on the ice here. I'd say a crowd 1,200, 1,500 perhaps. And let's see if technology is going to allow us to do this. We'll see if we can work a call in right now, right up the top here. This segment will go to Jesse out in Surrey. Hey, Jesse, how are you?
Hi, this is wonderful. This is really great that you're doing this. I love the coverage.
Yeah, well, we're having fun, and I'm not sure that certainly a daytime weekend show from a training camp has ever been done. So this may be groundbreaking in Vancouver.
This is wonderful. Keep it up.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Okay, what I want to know is I'm particularly interested in that offensive defenseman from Florida that came up here with Luongo. His name is Luke, and I can't pronounce his last name.
Lucas Krajicek.
Yes. Could you please inform us of what he's all about? I understand that he's an offensive defenseman, and I think he can replace, maybe not completely Jovo, but I think he's got the same style as Jovo, and I'm hoping that he can be our number 4 defenseman, and I'm hoping that Luc Bourdon has a wonderful training camp, and I hope he makes the team. And tell the boys, when you're in there talking to them, that us Canuck fans are behind them every time they lace up the skates.
Well, I will leave the cheerleading to you, Jesse. Appreciate the call as always. Going to send you back to your radio. But thanks so much for joining us here on the Team 1040 on our extended training camp coverage from Vernon. As far as Lucas Krajicek is concerned, a little bit of an X factor here, certainly in that deal. I think probably the lowest profile of the 5 warm bodies that were involved in the trade. I don't think people in Florida probably know a whole lot about a guy like Brian Allen. But coming this way, Lucas Krajicek, a guy who played some junior hockey in Peterborough. So even though, he's a European guy, certainly now 1 full season in the National Hockey League under his belt. But he is a guy that, has been around a little bit. He's from the Czech Republic, 23 years of age, 67 games last year down in Florida, 2 goals and 16 points. But they do say, anybody you talk to that knows a little bit about this guy, has offensive upside. I don't think he's ever going to be Ed Jovanovski. Certainly don't think he has the edge that Ed Jovanovski does. As far as, the offensive side, he is a guy that certainly I think the Canucks look at an emerging, and again, at 23, he's got some time on his side here, but he's a guy that, I think will move the puck well, that probably will get a chance to play some power play time. But outside of that, don't know a whole lot about him. Just don't know. I mean, I think we're finding out more about him every day as we go here. And so, there you go. There's the Coles Notes version of a guy like Lucas Krajicek. I've got one of these hockey magazines beside me that, they run through every team preseason, and the word on Krajicek may become a fixture on the Canucks power play, has the skill to potentially become a 50-point blue liner, but needs to add some bulk as he is prone to injury. Also needs to gain experience and some grit. He doesn't have the grit side certainly right now. One of these, it's a forecasting magazine. They say looking in the 25 to 30 point range as far as a guy like Lucas Krajicek is concerned. But we'll be keeping an eye on him certainly as the season goes along. As far as, I'm not a guy that gets hung up, whether he's number 4 or number 5 on the depth chart. I mean, let's make this clear right now. Matthias Olin, Sammy Salo, Willie Mitchell. Those guys are going to see the bulk of the ice time. They're going to eat up significant minutes. After that, there are questions on this Vancouver Canuck hockey team, and I think that the depth on the blue line is an issue. I'm not convinced that Luc Bourdon is ready. I know that the guy has a fair bit of hype, being the first rounder that he was in the World Junior and everything else. Again, he's a 19-year-old, and I know he had a terrific preseason last year. You know, we will find out. The Canucks have 8 preseason games. My guess is they're going to take a really long, hard look at Luc Bourdon. We'll see how he plays this time around, but I'm not convinced that he is ready to be an everyday NHL guy just yet. So, you've got Krejcik. Jury's out on him. Luc Bourdon, lots of questions there. Yannick Tremblay has been away from the National Hockey League for a couple of years playing in Germany. He is back here. And Rory Fitzpatrick, who was a depth guy in Buffalo. You know, I think he can play in this league, but how much you want him playing on the Vancouver Canucks, you know, if you're a Canuck fan, I think you have to wonder a little bit, and certainly if there's an injury to any of the big three on the back end, given where the salary cap is, you know, that is an issue. It has to be an issue with this Vancouver Canuck hockey team. Let's get to the phones. We're going to get out to Coquitlam. Gary and Coquitlam, you're on the Team 1040.
Yeah, Jeff, hi. And I listen to you guys a lot, and I listen to, and by the way, it's nice to have John Shorthouse on here. I've been looking forward to hearing him call the play-by-play. Very quickly, you've been, and a lot of the Team 1040 fellas have been talking about the Canucks and the Vancouver Moose. Now, I'm not trying to be negative here necessarily, but I wanted to ask you a question or make a comment. I'm just kind of questioning the fact that we are depending on the Vancouver Moose, and I'm being a little bit nasty here, but the Vancouver Moose players to fill in the gaps where we could have gone after guys that were legitimate NHL players. I was just wondering how you felt about that.
All right, appreciate the call. I'm going to send you back to the radio. That line available, 280-TEAM, 280-8326. Hey, man, this is the new NHL. There's a salary cap in place. Every team is going to have, 3 or 4 players that, may not be everyday NHL ready, but that is life in the new National Hockey League. If you're giving Roberto Luongo $6.75 million and you're giving Marcus Naslund $6 million, there's $12 million of your salary cap right there on 2 guys. You have to fill out the roster. And so, now it becomes who's got depth in the organization. And I think you saw teams last year that went deep into the playoffs getting pretty good mileage out of guys they maybe didn't expect a whole lot from. You look at the Oilers. Every night, they were getting goals, and Fernando Pisani, who expected Fernando Pisani to do a whole lot. But, every team has to have some of those unsung heroes. And maybe on this Vancouver Canuck hockey team, maybe a guy like Brandon Reed can come in here, step up. Maybe a guy like Tyler Boak can take it up a notch or two. Alexander Burrows got a good look at him the second half last year. Maybe there's more of a role here for him now that Jarkko Ruutu is no longer part of this organization. So, I think you have to have guys that have come up through your system, and, it's just the way it is. That is life, and I think it's the same for every team around the National Hockey League. Let's get back to the phones. Alec, go ahead. You're on Team 1040.
How you doing, bud?
Excellent. How about yourself?
Okay. I'm a little dismayed. I don't know if I'm more dismayed by the Canucks or more dismayed by the fans. Like, I'm a season ticket holder.
Yep.
And I had the opportunity, very thankfully, to go to the World Junior Tournament. And got lucky and was in the right place at the right time and saw part of the Memorial Cup. And first of all, I just want to say this. Love Luc Bourdon, but first of all, when you look back, he wasn't even in the top 4 defensemen on the World Junior team in his 19-year-old year. Like the guy, but there's, well,
it was his 18-year-old year. This is his 19-year-old. He's a 19-year-old right now, so.
Yeah, okay, so he can play this year.
Yeah, he could.
In the World Juniors.
Yep.
But my point I'm making is, you've seen a million defensemen just come through Vancouver that we've rushed along. And just because the guy had a good 2 weeks last year, and let's face it, it was known as his first, big splash. We got lucky with the ping pong balls. The reality is, let the guy play in Manitoba next year and develop, and or go back to junior, because I think he can really kill a defenseman's confidence pretty easily. Ella, Michel Petit, J.J. Daigneault, there's a million of them. It's a graveyard. And, thinking about him being a number 5 defenseman in your NHL. He ain't Dion Phaneuf, let me tell you.
Well, and I totally agree with you, and I said as much that I don't think this guy's ready for prime time every night, big role in this hockey team. But the one thing is a 19-year-old under the terms of the CBA, he can't go down to the Manitoba Moose. He either plays junior again this year or he plays with the National Hockey League team. So
let him play junior, get tons of ice time, and I think it'd be great for him. The other couple comments I want to make is what you're talking about, and I'm not going to blow sunshine up your rear end, is bang on. I got in such a little dispute with Pratt and Ferraro. Last year, I made the comment that you're going to win and die by your 7 to 12 forwards, your last 2 lines that get 5 minutes to 7 minutes a game. Because everyone's got, nowadays, if you look across the league and you get one of your hockey forecaster books, everyone's got 2 good lines.
Yeah.
And then it's, like you said, it bang on. Someone's complaining about the Vancouver Moose. Everyone's got Ben Eagers of the world or Kyle Wellwoods of the world.
Yeah.
Everyone's got those. And the reality is, you're going to win or lose with the bottom 6 and your 3, 4, 5 defensemen. That's going to separate you from being a contender and not. And if you look at the teams that were good, they had way more depth than what we have. And we're letting the guys off the hook this year. Like, we're letting management off the hook because, you listen to the radio and everyone's just saying, oh, we're going to be okay, we're going to be okay. We're not even going to make the playoffs. And I'm a season ticket holder. And I'll bet $1 million if I had it in the bank, we are going to be lucky to finish 10th. And someone's got to hold Nonis' feet to the fire.
All right, man. Appreciate the call. You had a good run there, and don't be a stranger. Call us back sometime just to pick up on a couple of things. When you look at the Buffalo Sabres and you talk about the bottom 6 forwards, a guy like Jason Pominville, the Canucks didn't have that type of guy last year that stepped up and produced him. And Alex Burrows had he came out of nowhere. He's a terrific story, but is he more than a 10-goal scorer in a full season in the National Hockey League? And it's fine to dump on Todd Bertuzzi, and enough people have, certainly, and I think it is time to sort of move beyond that now. But, his play obviously wasn't good enough last year, but neither was the play of anybody that had a regular spot on the bottom 2 lines on this hockey team. They didn't have more than a 10-goal scorer in their bottom 6 forwards. You look around the National Hockey League, and that is, as the caller said, where guys truly can make a difference. If you had a couple of 15-goal scorers, guys that overachieve, those guys can make a difference. I don't think that goals will, be easy to come by for this Canuck hockey team this year. It's going to be an issue, but with Roberto Luongo in goal, the ones that he stops, maybe they don't have to score as many at the other end, and I think that there will be a new approach. They keep trying to say that, they're not going to be defense first, that they want to still play an up-tempo style, but I don't think you can have it both ways. And, maybe they've been entertaining in the regular season for the past bunch of years, whereas it got them a bunch of early playoff exits if they even make the playoffs, and obviously they didn't last year. And I'm not so sure. I'm not ready to agree with that last caller. I think this team can get it. We talked about it with Shorty. I just think it's impossible. When you have the teams that made it to the Final Four last year and none of them had been in the playoffs the previous year, all bets sort of go out the window. I don't know how you can sit here and honestly peg and, who's going to finish where. And on top of all that, you've got to factor in injuries. They happen. They are a fact of life, but nobody knows who they're going to happen to, when they're going to happen, or they're going to happen to key players, will they happen to depth guys. Every team has to battle injuries at some level to various degrees, and there's just too many variables in the mix right now to try. That's why predictions, I think, are foolish, certainly now in the new National Hockey League. So let the chips fall where they may. I think this Vancouver team certainly can get into the playoffs. Roberto Luongo has to give them an opportunity to win just about every night that he's in there. This guy gave Florida a chance to win, and Florida had nothing on the back end in front of him. The Canucks should have a better defense. Again, barring an injury to one of the big 3, and that certainly would be a huge blow. There are some depth issues. There are depth issues with this hockey team. We'll address those as we move into the second hour of our special training camp program. Phone lines open if you want to jump on board. We'd love to hear from you. 280-TEAM, 280-8326, star team, a free call on your cell. If you want to join us here on this Saturday morning as we move into Saturday afternoon, we've got Ian McClutchy back at our Team 1040 studios in Vancouver with sports updates. He'll keep you up to speed on what's going on around the sports world. A football night here on the Team 1040 and in the city of Vancouver. Lions, the Alouettes. 7 o'clock is kickoff at BC Place Stadium. Pregame on your radio begins just after 5 o'clock. It is hour number 1 in the bag of our 3-hour program here today. 3 more hours for you tomorrow, 11 until 2 o'clock. If you're thinking of coming up from Vancouver, and I know I've already talked to a couple of people, talked to a guy that left 10 to 5 this morning, jumped in his car, was up here just after 9. Said he made pretty good time. Not a whole lot of traffic, obviously, that time of the day. And he was here. So there are some keeners. There's no question. People that want to see this Vancouver Canuck hockey team take shape. The scrimmage tomorrow, 11 o'clock. There'll be a session on the ice at 10. And then they will scrimmage at 11. And then the first group will leave. Second group will stay out there, go through some drills. But the scrimmage at 11 o'clock as we hit the air tomorrow. And certainly we'll have all the details, the goal scores, the hits and the fights if there are any. It's, as I said, it's like training camp in real time, and that's something that we can do here on the Team 1040.
Yeah, it's refreshing. We're just touching on the systems now early, but I think it's especially for the veterans that's been around for a long time. It's exciting, and I've said it before, but I think everyone has to prove themselves again, so it adds a little bit extra too.
Thoughts of Canuck captain Marcus Naslund as we come your way. Second hour of our 3-hour radio extravaganza, Day 2, Training Camp 2006 from the Vernon and District Multiplex. It is training camp in real time here on the Team 1040. We're delighted to have you along for the ride. Phone lines open. Anything Canucks goes. If you want to jump on board, anything we touched on in the first hour, anything that we haven't covered yet. Certainly fair game as well. 280-TEAM, 280-8326 on your cell. It is a free call at Star Team on this football night as well. Lions and the Montreal Alouettes, 7 o'clock. BC Place Stadium with the pregame show on the Team 1040 starting just after 5. Rick Paul, Julio Caravetta with the call of that one tonight. The Lions trying to make it 7 consecutive victories. You heard from Captain Canuck Marcus Naslund. By my way of thinking, this is a guy that has an awful lot to prove this year. It was a disappointing year for him personally. He was injured. Obviously missed the Olympics. Didn't contribute down the stretch. His hockey team as the captain and the leader. His hockey team missed the playoffs. And certainly as part of the tag team with Todd Bertuzzi, I think one of the big reasons why the dynamic just wasn't where it had to be, and that vibe in the dressing room and everything else. So Marcus Naslund, everybody knows what he has done for this Vancouver Canuck organization. The question is, what can he continue to do for this Vancouver Canuck organization? Hey, the guy is on a $6 million ticket this year and $6 million more a year from now. So, he was a marquee player. I'm not suggesting that he can't be a marquee player in the National Hockey League, but he is 33. He's not a spring chicken anymore. And certainly there are a lot of great young players in the National Hockey League. 79 points for Marcus Naslund, just 32 goals for a guy that had scored 48 not that long ago. And the question is, can he get back? I would say it would be a disappointing year for him if he can't get back up over 40. He's healthy. The black cloud is gone. But, that friendship thing with Todd Bertuzzi, those guys have played together for so long. I mean, there is going to be a new winger on that line, and we'll see about chemistry and all that kind of stuff that goes along to making everybody happy and productive. But Marcus Naslund is one of the highest paid players in the National Hockey League, and I think the onus is on this guy to step it up. He is the leader. They've fleshed that out, cleared it up. Alain Vigneault didn't want to leave any questions. Marcus Naslund is his captain. And so we will see how the captain can lead. But, 79 points, that's one thing. Minus 19 is something completely different. And I don't think, personally, enough was made of that last year. I think Marcus Naslund was given a bit of a free pass and a free ride in terms of the minus 19 and how he arrived at that number. I mean, you have to play terrible hockey in your own end to get to minus 19. Simon Gagne had 79 points. All the talk about Gagne for Naslund. They both had 79 points last year. Simon Gagne was plus 31. Marcus Naslund minus 19. That is a difference of 50. Difference of 50. Even strength goals that they were on the ice for or against. Marcus Naslund has to be better in his own end. There's just no question about that. Apparently Trevor Linden has stepped into the interview area in behind us here in Vernon, so let's hear what the veteran Canuck has to say for himself after day 2.
significant positions on, with good people around them, and we'll see, time on the power play. So I think anyone you put with Daniel and Henrik, not taking anything away from Anson, he had a heck of a year last year, are going to have their chances, and I would expect that whoever that be would be contributing offensively.
Starting to get a sense of what your role will be on this team this early start?
No, I'm just trying to understand a new system and try to work with some things, and for me, it's a clean slate like everyone else, and I think with the new coaching staff, it's exciting for me, and I think through preseason it's going to be a real challenge to earn your time and to earn your spot, and I look forward to that.
Do you expect this team to go through a few growing pains as you try to adapt to a new system with him, and then also get this team set up the lines, defensive partners, and your solos?
I don't think there's going to be that much change in what we're trying to do. I just think how we approach the game will be different. The way we, just our commitment to small areas, and I think there's probably more emphasis on preseason this year. I think that our group, everyone said it is preseason, but at the same time it does matter, and I think that playing well matters, and not only it's not so important the score, but playing the type of hockey and the brand of hockey we want to play is very important in preseason.
There you go, Trevor Linden dealing with the Vancouver media here. I shouldn't assume it's just the Vancouver media, although the bulk of the media here is from Vancouver, but certainly some local media as well. Trevor Linden in the media area in behind our broadcast location. If you joined us late, it is the first of 2 3-hour Vancouver Canuck training camp shows live from Vernon here on the Team 1040. Started at 11 o'clock, so this is hour number 2. And for those just joining us, should recap some of the news of this day. The second of the 2 groups, the 50 players here broken into 2 groups. Morning session out there just after 9 o'clock, and then when those guys get off the ice, they do some dryland training. The second group comes on. Second group is still out on the ice working on some systems play now. And Roberto Luongo tending goal to our immediate right. We're just set up in the corner at ice level, about 10 feet away from the ice. So a terrific vantage point. Should be some fun tomorrow for the scrimmage, watching at ice level. But here we are, Roberto Luongo in one end, Wade Flaherty at the other. So the veteran netminders tending goal in this second session. A couple of things of note as far as the way they lined up and took the ice today. Here in the second session, Marcus Naslund on a line with Tommy Santala, guy that played a little bit in Atlanta a few years ago, but basically he has played most of his professional hockey over in his homeland of Finland. Alexander Burrows, the other forward on that line. Brendan Morrison centering a line with Josh Green on one side. Yannick Hansen, kid from the Portland Winterhawks in the Western Hockey League. He was on right wing there. Matt Cook playing with Brad Moran. And the Canucks' first-round pick from this past June's draft, Michael Grabner, who's on his way back to Spokane. Among the defensemen in the second session, Luc Bourdon, Sammy Salo is out there, Matthias Oland, and Lucas Krajcek, along with Kevin Bieksa, who, by the way, Kevin Bieksa, got a pretty good look at him last year, and I think most people now know what he can bring to this hockey team, an element of toughness, and a guy that's not afraid to skate with the puck, although I don't know that they necessarily want him to do a whole lot. We'll see. I mean, Mark Crawford allowed his defenseman to jump just about any time. We'll see if Alain Vigneault is that liberal with his blue line guys. But Kevin Bieksa wore number 25 last year in his rookie season in the National Hockey League. He is one of the guys that has changed his jersey number. Kevin Bieksa will now wear number 3 this season for the Vancouver Canucks. And another guy who changed, Rick Rippon, only saw him for a brief period before broke his leg last year. What did he get in, 5 or 6 games? 5 games where the Canucks scored 1 goal against the Los Angeles Kings. Rick Rippon. You heard Alain Vigneault talking about him coming out of the prospects camp. Rick Rippon wore number 15 last year. He has switched to number 37. From the morning session, these were the news and notes that you need to know. Henrik Sedin and Daniel Sedin, a bold move by Alain Vigneault, splitting the Twins. And I don't think that this is long-term by any means. Henrik Sedin centered a line with Jan Bulis and Gordy Dwyer, a journeyman tough guy who was here on a tryout basis. Daniel Sedin found himself on the left side. Rick Rippon in the middle. Trevor Linden on right wing. Other line combinations from the morning group: Mark Chouinard, Taylor Pyatt, Lee Gorin, 3 of the biggest forwards here in camp. They were all out there together. And again, Chouinard, he's a big dude. I mean, the things that sort of stand out to you when you first see the Canucks step out on the ice: Mark Chouinard, a big body down the middle, no question about it. Ryan Kessler was in the morning group. We're hoping to hook up with Ryan Kessler, have him join us here at our vantage point In a couple of minutes, Ryan Kessler found himself playing with Jesse Schultz and a prospect by the name of Jurash Šimek. Willie Mitchell among the big-name defensemen out there earlier on today. And they have the 3 young goaltenders all grouped together. Goaltenders get out. They do some work with Ian Clark, the goaltending consultant. They're on their own at 8 o'clock, so they come out early, and then the players join them. This has to be an area of concern for the Canucks, but one that I do think they will address here shortly. After Roberto Luongo and Wade Flaherty, there is nothing. There is nothing in goal with this hockey club and this organization in general. Julian Ellis, Alexander Vincent, Drew McIntyre, 3 young guys. They are the depth of the Vancouver Canucks in goal. There's just no question. No question. The Canucks have to address that. I mean, if Luongo gets hurt, I know I shouldn't even mention that. The Canucks don't want anybody saying those words. But if Roberto Luongo were to get hurt, you go to Wade Flaherty and what? Drew McIntyre, a guy that's played a handful of games in the American Hockey League? I don't think so. I do think the solution lies in what happened to the Canucks a year ago. You remember back when they brought in Brent Johnson and then lost him to the Washington Capitals at the end of training camp, or the end of the preseason when teams have to declare their 23-man roster. All of the players, if they're going to go down to the minors, they are subject to waivers. And I think the Canucks are going to be in the same boat that the Washington Capitals were a year ago when the Capitals identified a guy that they thought they could pick up and, a guy that had some experience, had played in the National Hockey League. They plucked Brent Johnson from the Vancouver Canucks roster. I think you will see the Vancouver Canucks right now probably scouring other teams' rosters, trying to figure out exactly who it is that they're going to go for. There was talk of bringing Steve Shields or Mike Dunham. Dunham has found employment, or at least a tryout offer somewhere else. I think Steve Shields, if I'm not mistaken, is still hanging in the balance. He is out there, but I think you're going to see that the Vancouver Canucks are going to go look for a number 3 guy on another team, a guy that has played in the National Hockey League, a guy maybe that is young and on the rise. I do think that is probably the likely scenario and the likely solution to an organization that needs goaltending depth in a desperate way. So certainly we'll keep tabs on that as we work our way through training camp and through the preseason, which of course starts on Tuesday night for the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks in Calgary Tuesday night at the Saddle Dome to get things going. A 6 o'clock start, and the pregame show here on the Team 1040 will start probably sometime on Monday afternoon. Finn, the Canuck mascot, they're all here. This place is a zoo. There's no question. Finn is stopped. Leave the Timbits alone, Finn. Not fish food by any stretch here. The Vernon and District Multiplex. But get out of the way. I'm trying to watch what's going on the ice. Come on. Have some respect for the radio guy. Phone lines open as they were in the first hour. They will stay open throughout the program. 280-TEAM, 280-8326-STAR-TEAM on your cell. It's a free call if you care to join us here on our training camp special on the Team 1040. Would love to hear from you. A little bit later on, Alain Vigneault, when he is finished up with group number 2. And when he works his way into the media zone here in Vernon, we will carry the coach's thoughts on day number 2 of training camp live for you on your radio. So stick around for that. In the meantime, we're going to continue to endeavor to get to some of the players as they shower up and finish off after the first session. They are going to swing by our location here, and got Mike Whittingham hard at work trying to line up a couple of guests for us. We had John Shorthouse on earlier. Ryan Kessler is supposed to join us as well, and we'll see if we can make that happen. Certainly, he has been a guy that has been in the spotlight, thrust there, not by his own doing this week, but I'd like to move beyond that. I mean, we know about the contract now. Yeah, he's going to make $1.9 million. Yeah, he's overpaid at that number for this season. My question is, what is his role on this hockey team? This is a guy that had a terrible first half a year ago, a guy that, didn't, at a lot of nights, didn't look like a National Hockey Leaguer. Let's face it, he was a center iceman. A center iceman getting regular minutes in the National Hockey League. He had 1 assist before Christmas last year. It's almost unfathomable to think that a guy that could eat up that much ice time, you would think that somehow you just give the puck and some guy would go end to end and score and you'd get an assist. Get a second assist. Get a cheapie. I don't care. You're a centerman. Your job is to set guys up. Ryan Kessler played the first half of last season. He had 1 assist. He had a better second half. He did. He seemed to come into his own a little bit second half of the season. But I have to admit that on a lot of nights last year in the first half of the season, I'm not sure why Ryan Kessler wasn't made a healthy scratch. But coaches have their favorites. And he was a guy that seemed to get an awful lot of ice time. I think they cut him a lot of slack being a first rounder. And anyways, he did come on in the second half of the season, and now he's got the big ticket, and certainly the expectations will be high for a guy like Ryan Kesler, but I'm curious to see where his role is with this hockey team, with Alain Vigneault. Does he remain playing the center ice position? You know, they brought in some depth in a guy like Marc Chouinard. Maybe. No, at some point, maybe Kesler would be better served as a banging winger. Who knows? You know, so all those questions will be answered here as training camp comes to an end on Monday and the preseason begins. And boy, is it it's a sprint at the start of the regular season. There's no doubt about that. 8 games in 11 nights. So Alain Vigneault and Dave Nonis, Steve Tambellini, the Canucks management crew, they'll have plenty of opportunities to get a good long look at a lot of guys in those 8 preseason games, and we'll see where they go from there. It all starts on Tuesday night from the Saddledome, the Canucks and the Flames, Shorty and Tom here on the Team 1040. Second group of the day, still out on the ice here in Vernon, wrapping up their on-ice workouts, and then they'll have to go to the dry land. I guess that's the grind being a National Hockey Leaguer. The fun part is what you do out there on the ice, and then you gotta train. There's no question about it. All these guys battling for just a handful of jobs on the 2006-2007 Vancouver Canucks. This is our training camp coverage from Vernon here on the Team 1040. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow from 11 until 2 o'clock. Canucks will scrimmage their first real scrimmage of training camp, first scrimmage of any kind, and I think it's really the only scrimmage that is drawn up in the plans. The 4-day, it's a quick camp here in Vernon, no doubt about it, in and out, and then it's on to the preseason. And just waiting to get Ryan Kesler all hooked up here as he joins us in our broadcast location at ice level here in the Vernon and District Multiplex. Ryan Kesler joining us here on our training camp coverage. Kes, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Not bad, not bad. The man that has been in the media spotlight probably more than even you wanted here in this last week, so maybe we can put all of that behind you and let you get on with it. I mean, it has been a crazy week, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it has. It's been a mix of emotion and
mostly good, though, I would think.
Yeah, it's an honor to be wanted around the league, and it's an honor to have a team want you like that.
Yeah, the Canucks step up. You remain a Canuck, and I'm wondering how'd your teammates react? Guys giving you a bit of a grind?
All the guys were pretty complimentary. They all congratulated me, and they are giving me grief for sure. They all say I owe them a dinner.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I'm sure you do. Hey, you can afford it now. I mean, it's obviously a nice contract, and now, hey, the money is on the table, and also the table is set. I mean, you know that you gotta get out there, and I mean, it started yesterday, but you gotta get out there and start earning it.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm just gonna go out there, work hard, and earn my paycheck every week, and basically just help the team win any way I can.
Well, let's get into your role on this hockey team then. I look back, last year really was 2 distinct halves. I mean, the first half had to have been a disappointment for you personally. The numbers weren't there, whether it was not the right combination, whether it was, I mean, there were probably a bunch of factors. Didn't happen for you. You did start to emerge in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I had a bad first half. I know that. And I thank Dave and Tamby for not sending me down and giving me a chance to play in the second half. And I did pick my game up. I think I had a lot more confidence. I think I belonged in the league. And at the beginning, I think I was just really tentative, not playing my game, not afraid to make a mistake. And I think by the second half, I knew what I could do out there, and I knew I could go out and perform at the highest level, and I could play in the NHL. Was
there anything that clicked? I mean, as a young guy, I mean, it's got to be tough to sort of get your feet under you in the National Hockey League, and obviously there's a lot that goes along with being an NHLer, but I mean, was there one factor that allowed you to sort of become more confident?
Oh, I just think it's a big learning curve. Every day I'm learning and improving. So I don't think I can pick out one factor. No, I think it was just over time I became more confident, and I realized that I could play in the league and getting to know the guys, and the guys are real supportive in the locker room. That helps big time.
You are a centerman by trade. I mean, a natural center. I mean, is that where you you want to play? Have you given any thought? I mean, there seems to be spots here on the right side on the top two lines. I mean, would you be open to some experimentation and giving a wing more of an opportunity, or do you want to be a center?
No, I mean, in college I played right wing on RJ Umberger's line. He was a center, and World Juniors I played the wing, and succeeded at the wing. And I mean, if I get the chance to play on the top two lines, there's no reason why I wouldn't play wing. There's some great players on the top two lines, and it'd be an honor to play with guys like that.
Right, and I mean, so much has been made in the comparison to you being a younger Trevor Linden type player, and certainly he's had success on the wing. And I just wonder, I mean, I think we sometimes on this side of the table in the media get too caught up in, whether you're a number 2 line or number 3 line and putting numbers on stuff. But if you had an opportunity to sort of bump up the depth chart, but it meant moving to the wing, I mean, that might be a great opportunity for a young guy to get significant minutes playing. I mean, if you had a chance to play, whether it was with Brendan and Marcus or even the Twins. I mean, it seems to me that those would both be plum assignments.
Yeah, I wouldn't turn that down in a heartbeat. I mean, those are great players to play with, and I think it'd help my game a lot. It'd make me more offensive, and just to get a shot like that would be awesome.
Ryan Kessler joining us here on our Team 1040 training camp coverage from Vernon. How's it gone? I mean, it's been such a whirlwind, but I mean, it's so important, and we see it every year with guys that miss even parts of training camp. You get behind, and it's tough to make out that time. I mean, obviously, I think it was important for you to be here on the first day on Friday and get in with the group and not miss any time. But given the week that was, how difficult was it to put all that behind you in a hurry and just focus on the task at hand?
The first day was good to get your legs under you. Good hard-working day, and you know what? Once you hit the ice, I think everything kind of just disappears. You just go out there and play hockey, and that's about it. I mean, training camp's been good so far, and we just got to keep working hard. We got to be one of the hardest working teams in the league, because I don't think we're going to score as many goals this year as other years, and I think we just have to play solid defensively and just go with the flow.
What is the early, and I know it's early, but what's the early assessment of Alain Vigneault and just the way that he's conducting himself and his business out there?
He's a great coach from what I see in the first 2 days, and he likes a lot of high speed, intense drills, and I think the biggest thing is just to him is just have a hard-working team and be the best conditioned team out there. And if we're the best conditioned team, I think teams are going to have a hard time outworking us.
Well, congrats on the deal. I know that, obviously you're delighted to have the contract, but probably as delighted just to have it behind you now and get on with the matter, and that is being a hockey player. That's what you do best, so good luck through the preseason, and certainly we'll hook up with you along the way. But thanks for doing this.
All right, thanks.
Ryan Kessler stopping by here at our broadcast location in Vernon this afternoon. The Canucks' second group still out on the ice. I'm not sure if maybe they're in Alain Vigneault's bad books. I'm not sure, but it seems that the second group has been out there a lot longer than the first group was this morning. So they're continuing to be put through their paces. Ryan Kessler was part of the morning group skating on a line this morning, as we mentioned, with Juraj Simic and Jesse Schultz. So the Canucks continuing to mix things up. I just don't think you can read much into who was skating with whom here on day number 2. And it is only day 2 of training camp. But training camp is short and sweet, a 4-day session. And it looks like the second session of the day here is drawing to a close as guys doing a little bit of the old skating drills to wrap things up. They move the nets up about 15 feet into the slot, both ends, and guys just skating laps now and trying to get their legs under them. So I think this session is coming to a close, and we're delighted that Ryan Kessler was able to join us here. Hopefully we'll be able to get a few other guys in, and as I've said throughout the morning and now into the afternoon, that when Alain Vigneault is done, when Alain Vigneault is off the ice and steps into the media area here in Vernon, we will pick up his post-day thoughts. Can't call them post-game thoughts because it's not a game, but his thoughts on day 2 of training camp will bring the coach to you as well. We'll continue to wheel some media members through here, get their thoughts on what they've seen here and what they expect from this hockey team. John Grisdale is the commissioner of the BC Hockey League. And again, this is a BC Hockey League facility, the Vernon Vipers. It is home for them, their home facility. And they John Grisdale was here yesterday as the commissioner of the BCHL, making an announcement about a big prospects game that they've got coming up. And Grizz himself, a former Canuck, he's been through the grind of National Hockey League training camps. He will stop by, and we'll see who else we can convince to join us here on our training camp coverage from Vernon as we work our way to that first preseason game coming up on Tuesday night in Calgary. I mentioned goaltending depth. There's just no doubt that is an issue. And we talked, too, that, aside from the big three on defense, Matthias Olin, Sammy Salo, and Willie Mitchell, after that, I just don't know how it shakes down. And I think that is what training camp at the preseason is certainly for. When you look at, is Kevin Bieksa ready to be a regular, everyday guy, eat up meaningful minutes? Yeah, he's got some experience under him now. Lucas Krajcek, jury is still out on him. And then, as we said, Yannick Tremblay has been away from the National Hockey League for 2 full years. Played in Atlanta a couple of years ago, and for whatever reason didn't work out for him there. Lockout hit, went over and played in Germany, and then stayed last year in Germany as well. So he spent the last 2 years playing in the German Elite League. Yannick Tremblay coming back here. He's a guy that has a bit of a history with the head coach of this hockey team. And it's funny, I guess loyalty in any business certainly has to mean something. But you look at some of the guys that the Canucks have brought in here in the offseason, whether it's Mark Schwinnard, whether it's Yannick Tremblay, whether it's a guy like Gordy Dwyer, who is here on a tryout, a guy that literally is fighting for a job. He's middleweight, but he's a guy that, has certainly scrapped enough for the National Hockey League level. He knows what his role is and why they were willing to bring him in here on the tryout. Anyways, Gordy Dwyer, Yannick Tremblay, Mark Schwinnard have all played for Alain Vigneault at some time in their hockey career. And again, you speak of loyalty. I think that has to mean something that they liked their time that they spent with the coach once and wanted to come back here. So interesting, the connections. It is a small world, really, this the hockey fraternity and the hockey community. And so these guys getting a chance again to either play for or prove themselves to Alain Vigneault. And Gordy Dwyer, bit of a neat story, and you're going to hear from him either later today or tomorrow. I had a chance to hook up with him and talk a little bit about his time in the pro game, and here he is at 28 years old, still willing to do whatever it takes. The dream is very much alive. Also, Yannick Tremblay, a terrific story. You're going to hear from him. Had a chance to catch up with a bunch of guys that we will give you the opportunity to hear from them as we move along here in our training camp coverage from Vernon, and certainly we'll do our best to bring in a few of the guys that are in this afternoon session if they're able to speak. Alain Vigneault still skating them out there, and again, we're not sure if it was performance related, but these guys look like sucking wind, for lack of a better term, starting to drag a little bit out there, and these guys just keep getting put through the paces. I'm not sure what happened out there, but they are skating. They're skating. I'm not sure that Marcus Naslin's dragging, but he's not alone. But there's some big names out there, and Alain Vigneault certainly seems to be driving the point home. Now, this is radio. I'm going to try and do this justice. I'm not sure I can, but Dan Murphy, Rogers Sportsnet, was the host of the Canucks games. He's going to join us here in a sec. But in the break, a nice-looking young lady waves him over to the railing, and I've seen Murph signed the autograph. People up here, celebrity. Murph, she had a T-shirt when she took her jacket off that said Murph on the back.
Hockey fans up here in Vernon.
Oh, they're Murph fans. Come on. But you oblige.
It's flattering.
Exactly.
It's flattering. But,
what can you do?
Crazy up here. I lined up like 60, 70 deep out of the back of the multiplexer waiting for guys to walk out for autographs. It's crazy.
And I came in at 8:30 this morning before, the first session at 9. There were about 50 people back there, and yesterday, same deal. Yeah, people are pumped up, and hey, it's good to have hockey back. Although I'm not sure these guys on the ice right now are thinking it's so good to have hockey
back. It was
back.
the same thing at the end of the first session yesterday. The same group, obviously, yesterday. They were put through the paces right at the end of the skate again, and I saw Marcus Naslin leading the way for one of the groups of skaters, and
well, I'll be curious to hear what the coach has to say, because I don't think the first session today they had to do this. So I don't know if it's performance related, but Alain Vigneault's been pretty upfront with guys. If you're not working, you're going to hear about it, which is maybe a difference than what we saw last year with the hockey team. But clearly he's trying to drive his point home early.
Well, I think during the interview yesterday it was just so refreshing to hear him say, I'm not here to win a popularity contest. There is a hierarchy with the players. not everybody's going to be treated the same, but everybody's going to be treated fairly. And he said, he basically said, if you're held to a higher standard, if you're one of the bigger players, and you don't meet that standard, he's going to let you know.
Well, and it's interesting, too. I mean, if you're Marcus Naslund, you're the captain. I mean, Vigneault cleared the air last week and made everybody sure know that, Naslund is the captain. If you're out there, you better suck it up and you better do it. I mean, there's no other option.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's very refreshing. I mean, I have no idea what this team is going to look like on the ice this year, but I kind of like the direction it's going, at least from the coach down. Now, you got a coach that's honest all the time. How long does it last?
Yep.
You don't know, but it is sure fun to hear him talk. And so far, the only two players I've really talked to about that are Marcus Naslund and Matt Cook, and they said as long as there's not a mixed message and he's honest in what he tells you, then give me the criticism.
Right. I think everybody comes here looking at training camp different ways. What do you see as some of the better stories here?
Well, I mean, it's the first time in about 5 years we've come up and you have to think about what stories we want to do because there's so many different ones. But for me, I think the most interesting things will be is our first chance to get a look at Richard Krajicek, kind of the unknown guy that we had no idea.
Lucas.
Sorry, what did I say? Richard?
Everybody's called him Richard.
The Wimbledon champ?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it just speaks that nobody knows about this guy. And
I'm going to say that at least a few more times. Lucas Krajicek, I hadn't seen him skate, don't know what he looks like. He's only got 90 games in the league, and people are penciling him into the top 4.
I know.
So, I mean, that was one guy I wanted to look at. And also, I really want to see who might fill those top 2 spots in the right wing. I'm sure Jan Bulis will be one spot if indeed Marcus and Brendan Morrison are kept together and the Twins on the second line. So Bulis will be one of those 2 places, and I want to see who's going to be in the other spot. Will Matt Cook get a legitimate chance to try? Or will it be someone else, like Jesse Schultz? So those are kind of things I've most wanted to look at. And, of course, watch Roberto Luongo for more than, just a highlight pack.
Right, and we're all here, trying to figure out about those right-wing spots in the top 2 lines. And then Alain Vigneault, providing no hints. In fact, he breaks up Daniel and Henrik today.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
I mean, you can't read into, obviously, what they're doing in their drills here. But, I would think that by tomorrow, because camp is so short, that I would think tomorrow in the scrimmage that they would want to start to get an idea of,
line combinations.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, they do have, 8 preseason games?
Yeah, so in 11 nights.
Yeah, so you will see a little bit more. But, this is... In camp, by the 3rd day, you're usually at least reporting on some line combinations. We haven't had to do that yet.
Yeah, and, just going back to your thing about Lucas Krajicek, if he's your number 4, I think that certainly brings up some other questions, too. I mean, depth on defense certainly has to be an issue with this hockey team.
No question. I mean, you really only have 2 returning regulars, and Bieksa, you can kind of slip into that playing half the season last year. So if Lucas is top 4, then where do you go from there? I mean, who's your depth guys? I mean, BX is on a one-way now. Where's Rory Fitzpatrick fit in? Does Trombe fit in there somewhere? So it's going to be interesting those last 4 spots, I'm going to say, if they're going to carry 7 D-men.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing that, as much as the guy kind of flew under the radar, how valuable in the long run a guy like Nolan Baumgartner turned out to be for this hockey team. And, good for him for getting the deal he got in Philly. But all of a sudden now, if there's an injury to one of the top 3 guys there, I mean, this team is in some serious trouble.
Now, I understand, a GM like Nonis has to wait to sign important pieces first and stuff, but a guy like Nolan Baumgartner, you have a feeling could have been gotten for $700 a year if you would have given him a 2-year one-way deal.
Yep.
And he would have been happy to do it. And it's not that he is a top 4 guy, but he can play on the power play, first or second unit. He is decent enough defensively to be put in most situations. So he is that real versatile guy that can play 5-6 any situation.
Right. I had a caller in the first hour, and we were talking too about for all the grief that the top line took down the stretch last year. There's no question that the bottom 6 forwards have to produce a little bit more. I mean, not looking for big numbers, but nobody had more than 10 goals among those bottom 6 forwards last year. And in this new NHL, you've got to find a few guys that step it up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe Taylor Pyatt can do that. You never know. I mean, Mark Chouinard's never been much of a goal scorer. He's more of a checking guy, so you don't know how much he is going to pot in. You certainly hope that Ryan Kessler, contract or not, was going to score more than 10 goals this year. The hands might catch up to the feet a bit. He scored 30 in the minors, so he can score goals. So you have to look to those 3 guys, and then can Trevor Linden, if he's going to play more minutes, score a few more goals? So you're going to need some from those guys.
You get the assignment. You had it right after the trade, and I gather you're going back to spend some time with your buddy Bert.
Yes, tomorrow flying into Edmonton. It's interesting. Half the team plays in Calgary tomorrow night, Sunday night. The other half plays in Edmonton on Monday night, and that's the game that Bert's going to be on. But they're skating Monday in Calgary and busing to Edmonton, so I'm hoping that they get there in time to get the sit down. But he's agreed, and I'm going to give him grill him a little bit more about the past. I got him right after the trade, but also just how it's been in terms of teammates and media down in Florida so far. Has he had the chance to kind of just blend in?
Right, and I think, while it still remains a good story and good for you guys for getting it, I think everybody, too, will be happy that once this is done, get him back to Florida, and until January 7th, let's just kind of all move on.
Yeah, I'm not going to dwell too much more on the past. Like I said, he opened up a bit the day after the trade. Of course, he let loose a little more in the Tony Gallagher article in the Province, but I'm not looking for him to take shots at anybody. I'm not going to really press him into stuff like that, but just I want to ask him if he thinks the dressing room's better with him gone.
What's the story we're going to see on Rogers Sportsnet tonight?
We're going to have the Lucas, Don't Call Me Richard Krychek feature tonight. Also a little bit on the top two lines like we talked about, and then tomorrow something on Alain Vigneault.
Great. Murph, thanks for doing it.
No problem, Jeff.
All right. Dan Murphy mentioned Jan Bulis, one of the guys that likely will find himself in a top six forward position. Where that is, which line, those types of things still being worked out. But Jan Bulis talking to the media here in Vernon a few minutes ago.
Well, for sure, I wouldn't mind that. They're offensive guys, and I've been actually looking for that once I get out of Montreal, to play a little offense too, because I'm mostly a defensive guy in Montreal for 5 years. So that was a chance, and I took it, and we'll see how it's going to go in the camp. It'll be, of course, I would like that. It would be great.
The type of guys that seem to do a lot of the work, and their winger can kind of just sit in front of the net and maybe pot some goals. It seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't mind playing in front of the net, and what I see, like most of the goals are scored like that, rebounds, and tips, and I like that kind of work too. And also, we'll see if we're going to be matched together for sure. I would like that job.
Yeah, and how good was it for you to get out of Montreal and maybe get a chance to be more of an offensive hockey player again?
Well, it was. It's been. I liked that first couple of years. I liked that job, but then, of course, during the lockout, we won the title, and I almost won the scoring in Czech Republic. With all the Czech guys back playing in the league. So I was looking for some offense, and we had kind of talk with Bob Gainey, and he just didn't see it coming that way. He just wanted me to play like a third line guy, and so I unrestricted free agent. So I didn't even think about it, and I left. I left Montreal, and Vancouver seemed like the best spot to go right now. So here I am.
Was it frustrating last year in Montreal?
It was for sure. It was just he even sent me out a couple times. For 3-4 games, and I came out scoring goals too, and just didn't see why. It didn't give me a reason, so I didn't even think about it twice, and I just told him right away that I'm leaving.
You feel confident that you're capable of bigger numbers. That's what you want.
Well, I hope so. Pretty much, I think I so far had a good season. I scored 20 goals last year, and still I didn't hardly see any power play ice time. And it was just pretty much 5-on-5. So hopefully with the chance here in Vancouver, maybe if I'll get that chance, that I'm looking at again for like 20+ goal season.
You're welcome to signing a one-year deal.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Well, there was 15, but like Vancouver seemed like it's a hockey city too, just like Montreal, and I like that. And after like a couple of weeks, I didn't even think about different teams and just signed right here.
And do you expect, are you confident you can be on the top two lines, one of the top two lines in the right wing?
Well, for sure I would like that, but like I said, you're going into the camp, we'll see how it's going to go. I feel good, personally I feel good, on the ice, skating-wise and everything, and I'm looking forward, it's going to be for sure. There's always a battle, but I hope it's going to be one of those two lines,
Jan Bulis, 20-goal scorer in Montreal last season, coming way west, although interesting, and listening to Willie Mitchell the other day on the air with Rick Ball, a connection there. Jan Bulis is a 16-year-old, came all this way to play in Kelowna, Tier 2 in Kelowna, before playing in the Ontario Hockey League Major Junior. But here's a guy that, didn't speak any English at 16, with the dream of playing in the National Hockey League, and that dream's come true. And now he's back in British Columbia, in Vancouver, and most likely bound for one of the top two lines. But again, that's one of the big questions. Will it be with the Twins? Will it be with Marcus Naslund, Brendan Morrison, if Alain Vigneault chooses to keep those guys together? That second group is finally off the ice. The second session of the day is underway. And, just getting antsy. Alain Vigneault is going to step into the media area here, so we will get set up and hear from the coach. I'm curious to get some thoughts on that second session and why guys were forced to skate as much as they were. So the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks is getting set to address the media here in Vernon, and we're going to pick up the thoughts of Alain Vigneault before we get to break. So here's the Canucks head coach.
La patinoire peut laisser un petit peu à désirer, donc mais très satisfait de ce qu'on a vu là au niveau d'intensité puis concentration.
Don't ask me to translate. Please don't ask me to translate.
D'être de retour dans la Ligue nationale, au centre de ses joueurs, à les diriger.
J'ai eu quelques années entre ma dernière expérience et évident.
All right, well, we'll monitor the situation. I think he's getting the French out of the way right off the top, and we'll get back to the coach here in a sec. But it is interesting with Alain Vigneault here and Roberto Luongo, Marc Chouinard, Luc Bourdon. There is some interest from back east in this Vancouver Canuck hockey team because there's a fairly heavy Francophone presence here this year that hasn't been here in years gone by. It's been predominantly the Swedes that have been one of the storylines, but this year a bunch of French guys led by the head coach, and so he's going to probably have to do a little bit of media in French. And then we'll see where it goes. But we will stay with the head coach. We'll bump our top of the hour sportscast back a little bit so that we can get the comments of the head coach here. But we're waiting for him to get the French out of the way, and then we will get to the English. And again, please don't ask me to translate. Took a few years in high school, but not enough to know what the head coach has to say for himself. But are we ready to get back there? No, still going in French, apparently. All right. Be interesting to know what he's talking about. All right, this isn't not it's live radio. You do the best of what you got, but we need the head coach to start speaking in English so that we can hear his thoughts. Because I am curious to know if there was something that took place in that second session that resulted in those guys being forced to skate as much as they did here this afternoon in Vernon. All right, let's get back. Here is Alain Vigneault.
It wasn't a back skate. It was just a conditioning skate, and our veterans tested extremely well. I'm very, very pleased with their results. Obviously, the guys mentioned last year that they wanted to redeem themselves, and they put the words into action. They took their summer programs very, very seriously, and all our veterans did really, really well. Big improvement from last year, which is very positive. Some of our younger guys, we have to do a job as far as educating them, teaching them what is needed at this level. But I would very pleased with what I saw about the results of our veterans.
Getting a one-way contract is a real feather in the cap for a guy like Josh Green. You saw him obviously in Manitoba up and down. Where does he fit in?
I think Josh can fit in whether he be on a third or fourth line. He's a great skater. He's got energy. I think he can, if he's on top of his game, with that energy and that skating, he can play in this new NHL and play well. So hopefully he'll be able to do that. I thought he had a great season last year when he was with us in Manitoba. He traveled more miles than anybody in the National Hockey League as far as flying time last year, and still found a way to contribute. So I think he'll be a good player for us this year.
I know we talked about it a couple times, but do you have anybody in your mind penciled in for those right wing spots in those top two lines?
Not at this time. Like right now, we are sort of putting in our system in place, and the 8 games and 11 nights, that's when it's going to get done. We're going to try different guys at different positions. Being versatile, playing more than one position in the NHL is a bonus. So we're going to try different guys and see what type of combinations we can come up with.
You know Steve Gainey?
I saw him a little bit last year in Phoenix Farm System and played a couple of games against us. And I think he played something like 20 games last year. Rick had him in Phoenix and said, he's a depth player, and we'll see what he can do with us in training camp.
Alain, you talked about the exhibition games. Will that also tell you who your backup goalie is going to be?
Well, right now, Wade Flaherty has got sort of handle on that position, and depending on how he performs during exhibition, then we'll have to assess if we need somebody else or not. He's come in very good condition, and we'll see what he can do as far as stopping the puck.
Would it be his job to lose then?
Well, right now with the personnel that we have, he's the most experienced, and he has had great success in the American Hockey League. We have to find out if he can do it at this level, and we're no different than anybody else. If we can improve our club by going to the outside, we will. If there's somebody better than him out there, and we're going to do like everybody. We're going to look to improve at all positions.
Impressions, we're only 2 days in, but what are your impressions of the camp?
I'm very pleased. I think the work ethic is what I want it to be, and especially what I would expect it to be. Focus is there. Our veterans are interacting with some of our younger guys. I want that. I want them to help them out, and it's just a start. It's been 2 days. It's got to keep going.
Jesse Schultz has been able to score at every level he's played at. Do you think he can do that in the NHL?
He's going to get an opportunity, and then from that opportunity, it's up to him to do it. The opportunity is there. He's got to jump on it.
You happy with the camp he's had so far?
He was. I think I've talked about this before. He was very average at the prospect camp, and he'll get a scrimmage tomorrow, and then we've got 8 exhibition games. He's going to get some games. If he wants to be here, he's got to get it done. He knows what he has to do.
So thinking with the line combinations you have out of practice right now, is that just more about getting this team mingling and because?
Yeah, we're just mixing up guys right now and getting everybody to work with one another and respect one another, and with the 8 games and 11 nights, we'll be able to figure out some things then.
Wayne, how much of this camp is still you trying to put your impression of what you expect from the players and what they expect back from you?
Well, really right now for me, we're just showing the direction that we want this team to go as far as work ethic, as far as conditioning, as far as systems. And players want that direction, and so far they've been very coachable, and I expect them to stay very coachable.
There you go. The thoughts of Alain Vigneault, head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, after day number 2 of training camp 2006 here at the Vernon District Multiplex. It's in the books. Straight shooter. You got to like the guy. I mean, he doesn't pull any punches. Not a whole lot there, but it sounds like he's pretty pleased with the way the first 2 days of camp have gone. We're going to see the scrimmage tomorrow, really the only scrimmage here in Vernon. But as he said, 8 games in 11 nights. Got to save some guys up for that. And they're not going to make this hockey team in tomorrow's scrimmage. They will make the hockey team or not make this hockey team in what happens in those 8 games and however many they get to play. But some guys will probably get to play as many as 6, I would think. That may be on the top end. 5 certainly for a bunch of guys. And we will see. That's where the answers will come with this Vancouver Canuck hockey team. And you will hear all the preseason games and all the regular season games and, hopefully playoff games too. We'll see about that. Right here on the Team 1040, Shorty and Tom. Bags are packed. They're ready to fly out to Calgary along with this hockey team. The first one comes your way Tuesday night, 6 o'clock. The puck drops in the pregame, a 2-hour pregame extravaganza. We'll lay it all out for you. Team 1040, the new home of the Vancouver Canucks on the radio. 2 hours down, 1 still to come on our training camp coverage. It's like training camp in real time here in Vernon, and we're back to do it again tomorrow, and we'll have all the details for you of that scrimmage as it unfolds, and then players and the coach afterwards as well. John Grisdale, the commissioner of the BC Hockey League, a former Vancouver Canuck, he knows the grinds of training camp. He's going to stop by. This rink is, in fact, a BC Hockey League facility, home of the Vernon Vipers. You're going to hear from a couple of guys in the final hour of the program as well. Tyler Boak is one who I think has an opportunity. Seems every year that he's in the same boat, and this year, maybe a bit of better chance. No Jarkko Ruutu, some of the guys that decided that they would be better served to go play in Europe. Maybe an opportunity for Tyler Boak to step up his role in the hockey team. Alex Burrows, Josh Green. You'll hear from some of those guys. Phone lines stay open too. 280-TEAM, 280-8326. Star Team on your cell. It is training camp coverage from Vernon here on the Team 1040. Tomorrow 11 until 2 o'clock right here on the Team 1040 at 11 o'clock. As we hit the air, the puck will drop for the Canucks training camp scrimmage. They've already sold all 3,003 seats here in the Vernon and District Multiplex. I'm told that's exactly how many seats there are. Can hold 600 more. Standing room, a terrific junior hockey facility, and it's been a great host. The city has been a great host for the Canucks training camp. Second time they've done this in the last couple of years. Canucks were here back in 2003 as well. It was a successful mission then, and it looks like it's going well so far. And we are situated just off the ice, in behind one of the nets here in Vernon. A great vantage point, and look who's dropped by. We're a high traffic area here. We've got the hook out, and we just roll people through, and we're delighted to welcome the commissioner of the BC Hockey League, John Grisdale, joining us here. Himself a former Canuck. He's been through the grind of training camp for 2. Grizz, how are you?
I'm great, Jeff, and great to see you again. I love the studio.
Yeah, I could swear you and I have done this radio thing before in some other life, but not to go way back into history, but your days with the Canucks, were those the training camps over on the island?
Well, they were. The ones, we had one in Vancouver when I was here, and the rest of them were in the island, the old Memorial Arena in Victoria, you'll recall, and someday over a beer I'll tell you a lot of the stories out of those camps. They're a lot different than they are today, I'll tell you. Yeah, and the rinks are a lot different too now as your league has come a long way. And I know this is a big day for your league as well. It's a big day in Penticton as they're trying to get themselves a new building, and I think it's referendum day down there. Well, it is, and I think it's if memory serves me correct, Jeff, it's a $54 million arena complex, and obviously with that much money on the line, they're taking a hard look at it. But we're hopeful that there's going to be a new arena there at some form, and hopefully it will be this one, but, down the road we'll get it. Well, I mean, obviously disappointed to lose Chilliwack to the Western Hockey League, but I would think that this building here in Vernon has to be one of the jewels in your league's crown. Oh, without question, and I think it's about 5 years old now, and it's a great organization, the Viper organization, and it's a great community and city, but absolutely it's one of our premier arenas. Yeah, they lost last night to Westside. Well, as you know, we've talked about this off the air. The teams that have to play discipline this year because we're following the Hockey Canada rule emphasis program, and it was one of those games that I think everybody bites their tongue where you just things penalty after penalty and you don't really get any flow. But I'm confident that all of our teams will kind of buy in and the players will get it. I just talking to a couple of guys, one of the rink guys here, his complaint, and I guess again it's part of the growing pains, but it apparently took a while last night, a 3-hour game with all the penalties. Yeah, the game started officially about 7:30 and ended just before 10, but and it is my concern. The idea at the end of the day is the flow of it should be fast, the penalties will be fewer, and my the comments that come back from the Ontario Major Junior Hockey League, when they ran a lot, their games times dropped after the first 2 months by 5 minutes, so they were 2 hours and 10 minutes sort of thing. Well, yourself and Orland Kurtenbach, certainly parts of the Canuck alumni, but also front office of the BC Hockey League along with Dave Sales. I know you guys were up here yesterday for a pretty exciting announcement. And again, we talk about this facility and the beauty of having a rink like this in a place like Vernon allows your league and its team to attract big events, and one of them's coming this way in December. Well, Jeff, and we talked about it before, and it's the Canadian Junior A prospect game. Vernon was the host city this year. It would be the second one ever. Last year was very successful. I think we had over 100 NHL scouts. And it was put together within 6 weeks. So this year, with a lot more time, a lot more effort put together towards deciding who should play. So any player 19 and under will be eligible. But the big thing is I think we've got a lot of good players and a lot of good skill in our league this year. So with more time to identify those. We're working very closely with Central Scouting and E.J. McGuire. They'll identify their list of players after they get to see all the leagues. So we're excited, and I think Vernon will do a great job. Oh, I'm sure it will. Well, best of luck with that. The new season is just underway, and certainly we'll all be keeping an eye on things as we move through the BC Hockey League season. But good to see you, and thanks for stopping by here. Well, always a pleasure, Jeff, and thanks very much, and we'll talk to you again. Absolutely. John Grisdale, the commissioner of the BC Hockey League, and a good friend, joining us here on our training camp coverage from Vernon, and we're going to get back into the Canucks side of things, although Grizz, as I mentioned, is years with the Canucks, part of the alumni. But I've mentioned throughout the afternoon that one of the things I'm going to be keeping a pretty close eye on here in training camp is those bottom six forwards, looking for a little more production from some of the guys. Not that you're going to see big numbers
from some of the grinders, they know what their roles are. But in the National Hockey League, the guys that are making the 450, making the 500, they've got to step up too. And one of those guys who's getting, I think, a real good opportunity this time around is Tyler Boak. He's been in the organization for a while, but, has never been an everyday kind of guy. Has also had to deal with some injuries. So, those things, I think, in terms of distractions, are out of his head. But he does have one distraction. He's got one distraction, and that is that, his mind is on hockey right now. His mind is also a little bit on at home, and I'll let him explain. We had a chance to talk to Tyler Boak yesterday.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting. We had a little boy about 12 days ago, and just happy everything is healthy and happy at home, and now I can focus on hockey, and I'm looking forward to a new challenge for a new season.
Leave the wife to do the diaper duty for a little while?
Oh, just for a few days, but she'll be okay.
It's funny. I mean, all the changes around here, in some ways, I mean, you've got seniority now, and yet the role that you've played on this hockey team with the injuries and sort of the up and down nature, it's almost like, at least in my opinion, we really haven't seen the full Tyler Boak. Do you get that feeling that the Canucks really haven't seen what you can do for a prolonged stretch?
Oh, it's been definitely tough. The injury last year, I was hoping to show the team what I could do, and had a bad injury and just couldn't get in the lineup after that. But that being said, it's on my shoulders to stay healthy and to play the game the way that I think I can, and hopefully that'll contribute to the Canucks' success.
You completely healthy as you stand here today?
Yeah, I feel great. It was a long year last year, a long year of rehab, and then a summer of just making sure that I was going to be ready to go, and I'm feeling really good. So hopefully I'll have a good camp here.
What did you do in the off season? Do you train any differently when you're trying to rehab? And everybody talks about the new NHL and speed and all that goes along with it. I mean, has your training changed at all over the years?
Yeah, this year really did. I mean, after having a groin injury, they say biking's bad for the groin, so I didn't do any biking. I didn't do any heavy squatting. Or summers before, that was a big part of my workout. So I changed those up, did a lot of running, a lot of quick feet things with turns and mobility, and I'm hoping that'll give me a big help this year, because the game's definitely changed into a speed agility game.
How long have you been back on skates? Were you skating throughout the summer, or did you just get back in August?
Well, after, I definitely needed a mental break after last season, so I didn't put on the skates till August 1st. Other summers I skated in July, but I wanted to make sure I took that extra break, so I was going to be hungry this year, and I was glad I did, but skated basically every day in August for the weekdays, and I'm feeling good right now.
Is there a good crew? It sounds like there's a pretty good crew of NHL guys now that make Kelowna the off-season home.
Yeah, a great group of guys. You've got your superstars like Jerome McGinley and Danny Heatley. Scott Hannon lives there. So when you add guys like that into the mix, skating with guys like that, it helps everyone along.
I think back to last year, and we talked about the frustration, and I guess the highlight probably was the game in Phoenix. He scored the goal, crashed headfirst into the crossbar, as I recall, and also got in a scrap with Denny Gauthier. When you look, I mean, what can you take out of last year? What kind of positives can you take out of last year?
You know what? It's tough to take any positive out of last year. It was really devastating. If anything, mentally, you hope you're stronger. You battled and dealt with that injury and the disappointment of not playing. And I know I can deal with that. And just, if anything, it makes you more hungry to really want to succeed here.
How do you look at this camp? You've been through so many camps. I mean, do you think you have to do anything differently? I guess there's a little bit of a familiarity. You spent, 8 games down on the farm with Alain, so at least he probably can pick you out of a crowd.
Yeah, you know what? Really, every year I try to put a lot of pressure on myself, and I don't know if that seems to work for me. So this year I just been telling myself to go out, have fun, play hard. Things might be out of my control as far as when they pick the team, but as long as I give my best foot forward, I'll be happy with myself.
I'm sure you're not sitting at home with a checklist, but Joseph Ballet, there was talk that maybe he was going to have a shot at a spot here. He left and played in Europe. Now Jason King has decided to go try his luck in Europe. I mean, some of those guys that were battling for depth roles on this hockey team aren't here. I mean, does that improve your chances at all?
You never know. I mean, those guys are pretty offensive-minded guys. I'm going to be, if I'm here, I'm on the third and fourth lines, so try not to worry about doing what other guys are doing and just worry about what you can do. But if guys are going to take off and vacate positions, it's great for the rest of us that are here.
What can you do in these 4 days? Just come out and work hard here, and ultimately it comes down to them, doesn't it?
Yeah, you could score 100 goals in these 4 days and not play good in the exhibition, and you won't be around. So the big thing is just to get feeling comfortable. Hopefully the puck starts feeling good, and really get your focus going for exhibition. But hopefully getting better every day.
There you go, Tyler Boak, and one of the good guys. He's a nice guy. It's got to be tough. I got a couple of kids now, and even 12 days ago, his wife gives birth to their first child. I'm sure he was getting a little anxious that maybe it was going to overlap into training camp. So I'm sure that they were happy that it all worked out. He's got a little boy now and off-seasoning in Kelowna. So this is almost like home turf for Tyler Boak, and we'll see if he can stick and stay, if there's a place for him in those bottom 6 forward slots on this Vancouver Canuck hockey team. You're listening to the Team 1040's extended and extensive coverage of Training Camp 2006 from the Vernon and District Multiplex, which has emptied out now the fans that were here to watch the 2-on-ice sessions. There's about 20 of them that are stuck around. Ian Clark working out with Roberto Luongo and Wade Flaherty, the 2 goaltenders from the afternoon session. So they're going through their paces with a few of... you hate to call guys black aces when it's the second day of training camp, but some of the players, I don't know if they were recruited or if they volunteered. A few of the guys that were out there in the morning session, in fact, have come back and done a little extra work with the goaltenders. So there is still a little bit of activity going on here on the ice in front of us, and but things are winding down, as is our program here on the Team 1040 40 minutes. Not 40. I'm scared Mike Whittingham. He thought we were going all day and all night. Another 40 minutes or so from Vernon. Don't forget football here on the Team 1040 tonight. The Lions and the Owls. 7 o'clock kickoff from the Dome. The pregame show on your radio starts just after 5 o'clock. All right, let's slide on out for a sports update with Ian McCletchie back at our Team 1040 sports headquarters in Vancouver. We'll come back. Rod Brathwaite, who runs the Canucks Center of Excellence and is heavily involved in an endeavor that's coming this way at the end of the month. Rod Brathwaite here at training camp, Freddie's brother. Rod Brathwaite's going to join us in the program. We'll find out a little bit about the Canucks in the community, and we'll hear from a few other players as well. We are working on one of the guys that was out there as part of that afternoon session that was skated into the ground. Not a bag skate, just a conditioning skate, apparently, according to the head coach. I'm not sure the difference, but guys were skated pretty hard in the afternoon session. Anyways, we'll carry on from Vernon.
Burrows at the end of his shift, working now with Henrik Sedin in deep. Carter's lurking in the slot as Burrows gets the puck, scores! Alex Burrows on the wraparound. He's got another, and the Canucks lead 2-0.
Who is this kid? Oh, the fans are giving him a standing ovation. Alex, Mr. Hustle Burrows.
All right, so I'm a little excited. The hockey season's back. I've jumped the cliff about 10 times here this afternoon. Welcome back to Vernon, our extensive training camp coverage here on the Team 1040, winding to a close here on this Saturday afternoon, another half hour or so. But, hey, we're back to do it again tomorrow, 11 till 2, same time, same spot. We've got the same good vantage point. This will be good for the training camp scrimmage tomorrow. We're about 10 feet from the end boards here, and not one to miss out on an opportunity to cross-promote. The master of the cross-promotion here. Coming up at the end of the month, it's an event co-sponsored by the Team 1040. It is Coaching Day in British Columbia. They've been going on for a couple of years now, and, well, he's a good guy. He's been good enough to stop by here. Rod Brathwaite is, I don't know, he's the director now. Have they promoted him manager? What do we, manager? We'll go with manager?
Yeah, manager.
All right.
I'm not a director.
I'll see if I can talk to Dave, get you a promotion.
Yeah,
but,
thanks.
Manager of the Canucks Center for BC Hockey. It was once the BC Center for Excellence. Apparently, excellence not important anymore when you're striving for mediocrity.
No. It's we still try to get that going, but we had to change the name because the office has changed a little bit.
Okay.
It's a Canuck office now.
Yep.
So it's the Canuck Center for BC Hockey, and we're working really closely with BC Hockey and Hockey Canada. We're still trying to get development out to coaches and kids and make the game fun for everyone.
Coaching Day coming up at the end of the month, the 30th, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that the program, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say it's been going on for a handful, like 5 years now, and fairly popular program, and I think it continues to develop, and a good opportunity for coaches to get together, network, and just sort of pick each other's brain, and then also get a chance to learn from guys that do it for a living.
Yeah, it's been going on for many years, and it's growing. It's something that's looked for and recognized every year. And last year we were out at Bill Copeland Arena because of the World Juniors, But this year we're back at General Motors Place, and Edmonton's going to participate as well. And, of course, we get to see the Vancouver Canucks, and we're going to bring in some BC hockey teams. We're going to have a female team. We're going to have a Pee-wee team from Vernon, actually, and then we're also going to have one of the major midget league teams. So it'll be a great group of teams out there showing the coaches different ways to develop their kids, develop their players, and just educate them on ways of making the players better, you know. So it's a great day.
Are there still openings?
Oh, very much so. And It's a free event, so it's one of those things where all you have to do is sign up. We're also offering Speak Out for those coaches who need their Speak Out. And that's an initiative that every coach needs within Canada in order to coach within minor hockey. So it's a thing that teaches what they try to harassment and that kind of stuff. So
prevention of abuse.
Exactly.
Just so people are aware of where that line is and things they can't and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, very much so. And it is a fine line, and there's times where sometimes the most obvious things are things that people don't think of, you know. So it really brings out awareness on prevention, like you're saying, and abuse, and it's something that every coach needs. And it's a great opportunity to come see the Canucks, come see the Oilers, and get your certificate for Speak Out. So.
Rod Brathwaite from the Canucks Center of, I almost said it, Canucks Center for BC Hockey. It'll take me a while, but give me a chance. I'll figure it out. If people haven't taken part in coaching, and do you encourage repeat people? Like, have people done coaching day every year, or is it something that, if they did it last year, they're not going to come back again? Or
no, it's something that coaches do return, but we're always looking for new numbers because it's one of those things like the golf swing, which I'm sure you're trying to manage. You have to keep working at it, and even though you've been last year, you come this year, you learn something new, you meet a new coach, you see something that you haven't seen before. So it's just like our coaches here. We had a coaches town hall meeting upstairs, and you never stop developing, right? So you can never be the perfect coach or know everything about the game. So anytime you have an opportunity to learn from BC Hockey course conductor or learn from a Coach Vigneault or Rick Bonus or one of those guys who've been in the game for so long, it's one of those opportunities you just don't want to miss and make the most of it.
How'd the town hall go?
The town hall was good. There was a lot of great questions, a lot of people from within this region, from Lumbee and Armstrong and Vernon. So it was good, and a lot of great questions, and it really opened up our new coaches to the people of Vernon, and a lot of people see them in the grocery store and they want to ask them the questions, and that's not really the place. The place is at a town hall or at a coach's clinic, so really got a lot of information out of them.
And I think too, not to be the big city guys when training camp comes to Vernon, but for a coach in Lumbee or Armstrong or whatever, that'd be a huge thrill to get a chance to pick the brain of Alain Vigneault.
Oh, most definitely, and a lot of coaches did come out and to make the most of it. So it was a good night. The Save On Food helped, Tim Hortons helped, and of course the arena helped. So it was a good night.
All right, so coaching day coming up on the 30th, which is towards the end of the preseason. In fact, it is the final preseason game for the Canucks. It may be the final preseason game for the Oilers as well. The regular season starts the week after that. If people are interested, if people want to sign up,
the best thing to do, you can go on Canucks.com, and there's a banner right there, or they can call the office at 604-899-7770, or they can go to BC Hockey's website, which is bchockey.org.
You sure about that?
I'm kind of
that's that excellence. That's that excellence thing again. They can also, again, cross promotion. They can go to team1040.ca. It's there. I'm looking at the information in front of me as well. So the information is on our website. Well, I'm glad the town hall went well. Best of luck with coaching day in BC. I'm sure it'll be a success.
Well, thanks for having me. I have a voice like you had a little while back. I hope it doesn't last as long as yours did.
All right. Well, rest up, get well, and sitting, at ice level.
What did you use for the cure again?
Time.
Was it time?
Yeah, exactly.
I heard a different story, but that's all right.
For another day. Rod Brathwaite, the manager from the Canucks Center for BC Hockey. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I got it right there. Thanks so much for doing this. All right, Rod Brathwaite joining us here. Training camp coverage here in Vernon this afternoon, and we're going to get back into the player interviews. Had a chance yesterday to hook up with Josh Green, a guy who he's not smiling quite as much as Ryan Kessler. Kess getting the $1.9 million. Josh Green agreeing to a new contract, a one-way deal. That's the important part here, that if they do send him down, they have to pay him his NHL salary. It's a $450,000 contract for a guy that I thought was pretty useful at times for the Canucks. He's a big body. I don't think people realize sometimes sometimes just how big some of these guys are. And Josh Green is a guy that can compete down low, bang and crash. And, I thought he did a decent job. And he's excited, obviously, now that the contract's out of the way, he can focus on hockey. Josh Green, talked to him yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really want to get on the ice without having a deal, and now that we've got one in principle here, it's nice to get it out of the way, and I can start moving forward with the hockey and start concentrating on the rest of camp and in the exhibition schedule.
Not that you're an old guy, but you've got a bunch of these camps under your belt, and you've been around the league, and you've bounced around. I mean, does camp change from year to year? I mean, I guess with a new coach here, I mean, you sort of got to go back and improve yourself a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Camps are a lot the same. There's always a feeling out process at the beginning, but the biggest thing for me is to come into camp, be in shape, and just be ready to go. And I had Vigneault last year in Winnipeg for most of the year, and he's a great coach, and he's going to demand a lot, but it looks like guys are in shape and ready to go at camp here.
Yeah, it seems to me that he sort of saw you on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something last year on that shuttle. But, I mean, is there enough of a relationship there? Do you feel that he has a sense of who you are and what you can do?
I think so. I think I'm going to be playing a little bit different of a role here than I did last year in Winnipeg. But, he knows what I can bring to the table. I can play center. I can play the wing. So I think the versatility will help him a little bit. And it always helps when you know a player or vice versa, when the player knows the coach. You kind of know what to expect from both sides of it. And I'm hoping that'll help me in the season this year.
Probably hope to spend a little less time on airplanes as well. How difficult was that as you had the summer to look back and stuff? I mean, I guess you had to do what you had to do to stay in the NHL.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It wasn't ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but it was something that had to be done, and I understood why they had to do it. Obviously because of cap reasons, but it was unfortunate that they were in that position. But you just try to make the best of it. A lot of nights where you don't get a lot of sleep and a lot of travel on game days, but that's stuff you have to deal with if you want to play in this league, and I was more than happy to do it.
What about the time that you spent with the Canucks? I mean, how did you think you fared, and did you feel like you've got something to build on in this organization based on what you did last year?
Yeah, that's the main thing for me is that I bounced around a lot. I'd like to stay in one place and kind of build some roots and improve as a player and stay with one organization. And this is my third year here, and I'm hoping to build on some of the things that I did last year, and obviously trying to build on the number of games that I played. I'd like to stay here the whole year and earn a roster spot and obviously improve on the stats side as well.
In our business, and I think the fans as well, everybody focusing on how much turnover there was in the offseason, and yet from your perspective, I wonder if you look at it as openings, that there are some jobs here this time around.
Yeah, I mean, he's made no bones about it. There's spots to be had, and he said the only one with the spot right now is Roberto. So obviously there's some other guys with some security, but there are some spots open. There are going to be some line juggling, and I think a lot's going to depend on how well you play in exhibition and in the start of the season. So if you can grab the ball and run with it, you're going to have a spot here, and that's what I'm hoping to do.
I mean, it comes down, I think, for just about everybody here to the exhibition games. But what about here in Vernon? It's a short camp, but what kinds of things can you do to try to turn heads?
Well, you just want to be ready. Whatever role they put you in, you want to be ready and try and excel at that. And you're gonna get an opportunity at exhibition depending on how you do here. So everything is a springboard to the next level. If you don't play well at camp here, you're not going to get a lot of opportunity in exhibition. So you want to try and make the best of the opportunity you get. And he said that some guys won't get a lot of opportunities. It might be just one opportunity. It might be a couple. So when they come, you better be ready for it.
Yeah, there you go. Josh Green joining us here on our training camp coverage from Vernon. We've got one segment still to come here on this Saturday afternoon. Football for you again tonight on the Team 1040, 7 o'clock kickoff. The Lions, the Alouettes, BC trying to make the two-game sweep and roll to its 7th straight victory. The Lions 8-3 heading into this one. Have some company right now atop the West. Calgary with that win last night waxed Winnipeg, and we'll see if the Lions can answer. The Lions have a couple of games in hand on the stamps, but those teams still going head-to-head 2 more times down the stretch in early October. Those will be huge football games. A big one for the Lions tonight. 7 o'clock from the Dome, BC Place Stadium. 5 o'clock, the start of the pregame show on the Team 1040. And we thank Josh Green for his time joining us here on our training camp coverage. Roberto Luongo and Wade Flaherty out there doing some goaltending drills along with Canuck goaltending consultant Ian Clark. And one of the other coaches, can't see who that is, down at the far end of the ice here, Ian Vernon. But the goalies, they start the day and the goalies end the day. The three guys that were out with the morning session, they were out before the morning session doing some drills with Ian, and then the players joined them. And then the second group came on the ice, and the goaltenders have to stick around. So Luongo and Flaherty being put through a few extra paces here on this Saturday afternoon. All right, we're going to slide on out for a sports update from our Team 1040 studios back in Vancouver. When we come back in the final segment of the program, a chance to sit down with Yannick Tremblay, one of the new faces on this Vancouver Canuck roster, and a guy who certainly has been around. Played he was drafted by the Leafs, played for the Leafs, and then was picked by Atlanta in the Thrashers expansion draft when they came into the National Hockey League. Spent the last couple of years in Germany, but wanted to give the NHL one more try. So here he is at the age of 30, a guy that has a little bit of a history with Alain Vigneault from their junior days a decade ago in the Quebec League. And Yannick Tremblay is here trying to earn a spot on the blue line of the Vancouver Canucks. You will find out a whole lot more about Yannick Tremblay in our final segment from Vernon.
Presented by Nedco Cellular and brought to you in part by Tireland. This is special Team 1040 coverage of the 2006 Canucks training camp. Live from Vernon, here's Jeff Paterson.
Olin gets through center. In over the Columbus line with a slap shot. Scores!
Oh, what a shot!
Coast to coast, Matthias Olin. It's 4-0.
Oh, did he hammer that one? Matthias Olin with a laser beam.
Yeah, Matthias Olin can shoot the puck. Another guy who can shoot the puck, and Canuck fans probably won't have to wait too long to find out. Yannick Tremblay, 30 years old, bounced around, but a journeyman, and I think, again, in the new National Hockey League, every team's going to need some of these guys that come in at or near the league minimum, but, if you can get a guy that has some experience and can play, this might not be a bad signing for this hockey team. Played in Toronto, played in Atlanta, and then went overseas. An interesting guy, and the guy that is here on a mission at the age of 30. He knows he's not going to get many more opportunities, so this may be it for him to prove that he can be an everyday guy in the National Hockey League again. But you look back, it took Nolan Baumgartner, a first-rounder, almost a decade to become a regular in the National Hockey League, and then he was able to parlay that into a nice little contract in Philadelphia. So in some ways, maybe it's Yannick Tremblay taking advantage of the fact that Nolan Baumgartner is no longer here, not directly, but Baumgartner leaves, the space opens up, and the Canucks have to have somebody play defense for them, complement the likes of Matthias Ohlund and Sammy Salo and Willie Mitchell. And Yannick Tremblay is hoping that this is the place, and he's hoping that he can call this place home, and had a chance to sit down with him yesterday. Found him to be quite a fascinating case study, and hopefully this will give you a little bit better insight into a guy that could be patrolling the blue line for this Vancouver Canuck hockey team this season, Yannick Tremblay. And I asked that, after the years in the National Hockey League and then going to play in Germany for 2 seasons, what made him go to Germany, and was Germany the right spot for him?
I was hurt the last part of the last season I played in Atlanta. I stopped playing at the end of January. I never played again after that. So the year after that was the lockout. So I think when the time came for contracts and negotiation, I think the teams weren't too sure about my health status and if I couldn't play a whole year. So that made it a little bit harder. And the offers I had, I didn't feel too comfortable going to those teams, so I made that decision, and it was a good decision at the time for my family and I don't regret it, but at the same time, when I got there, I kind of missed the game in the NHL, and that's why I made a move after that to try to come back.
If I'm not mistaken, there was pretty big NHL flavor on the team you played on, though, weren't there? There were a bunch of guys, Rene Corbet, I think I saw his name, Carl Dykhouse, among other guys.
Yeah, Steve Kelly, Rene Corbet, Carl. The year before we had during the lockout, I played in the same team. UA was there, and so there's 11 imports on every team, and most of the imports are North American guys. So it brings the level a little higher and makes it enjoyable to be there too.
Good experience culturally?
Yeah, it was really good. I think the main thing that was good about playing in Europe is you're playing less games, you spend a lot more time with your family, and that made a big difference. That made it bearable in some way. Like I said, I missed the game in the NHL, but at the same time, spending time with my son and my wife for the first time in 10 years, 11 years, that much was good too.
So why Vancouver and why now? Was it one of those things that in the back of your mind all along you knew that you had to come back and give the NHL another shot?
Actually, I had a contract to go back in Germany this year, and what happened was right before the deadline, which was June 15th, I was approached by Vancouver, and I at that point I had the decision made. I talked with my wife about it, and I wanted to give it a shot if there was the opportunity. So Vancouver came in the picture, and I thought it was a good place to try to come back and show my stuff and see if I still have it.
I guess we're all going to find that out here in the next little bit. But at 30, I mean, you think you're a better player now, just mentally and maybe more mature and sort of understand what it takes to be an everyday guy over here?
I think a little bit of the experience I got in Germany showed me the job part of it. Hockey was so much a big part of my life that I'd live with my performance. My whole day and the next day or the day of the game was based on if I played good, if I played wrong. I think you have to have that middle ground where you can detach yourself from that, and that allows you to come back the next day and play a good game. And I think I learned that in playing in Germany. See it more like a job a little bit, but at the same time, that part of me that is competitive and ambitious and wants to be at the top, that hasn't left, and it's never going to leave. So I think both of those things together make me, I think, mentally a better player, and hopefully on the ice it's going to show off.
Do you keep track of the NHL over in Germany, either on TV or the internet? I mean, were you always sort of keeping an eye on what was going on back here?
Actually I didn't, because it was a little hard. Actually, I took it really to heart, not being part of it, and so it was just hard for me to watch games and watch players I knew and the league I knew and where I wanted to be. So it just made it hard, and no, I didn't, and I kind of made it a point, and I lived with it, and now it's the time where everything comes back together and take one last shot, I think, and see what happens.
Speaking of taking shots, I mean, from everybody I've talked to about you, I mean, you're a guy that can shoot the puck. You had 10 goals on a bad Atlanta team. I'm guessing you were given some opportunities to be put in some offensive roles there. What is it that's going to allow you to make this hockey team and contribute to this hockey team?
I think the main thing is the system they want to play is a fast-paced hockey game, quick passes, quick decisions, and one of my strengths, I think, is making a good first pass out of my zone. So if I can do that, then the quicker we get to the offense, we have the offensive guys to score goals. So I think that can help the team quite a bit.
Yourself, Mark Chouinard, Gordie Dwyer, all these are guys that have played for Alain Vigneault at some point along the line. What does that relationship mean to you, and how much did that have an impact on you being here?
I think the main thing about me making the decision to come to Vancouver was that I knew what kind of coach Alain was. I mean, if it's black, it's black. If it's white, it's white. It's never in the middle, and that's what I need for me and my family. So the decision to try to come back in the NHL was mine. But then after that, I thought the best place to be is in a place where I'm going to have a straight answer when I ask for one. And I think he's the guy that's going to give me one. So that was the main thing. After that, they make their own decision. He makes his own decisions, and I'll just go from there.
Did I see somewhere during the lockout you played some in that North American Hockey League?
No, that was another guy.
That's another Yannick Tremblay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say there must be some stories there, but I'll have to find him. Have to track him down. Okay. Well,
I played in charity, the Caravan, that played all around Quebec. We played that until the holidays, and after that I went to play in Germany.
Now, every guy has to offer something to the hockey team, contribute in their own way. I don't know if they would let you fly the team charter, but I understand you might be the only guy here with a pilot's license.
Yeah, I took that during the lockout. It was something I wanted to do the whole time before. I never wanted to go against team rules or anything like that. So during the lockout was the best time to do it. And now I'll just wait until my career is done, and then see what happens after that, and try to get a plane and fly. It's awesome to be able to do that, and I try to enjoy it as much as possible.
It's got to take some nerves.
Yeah, quick decisions and being focused. So I think it has a little bit to do with how I am too. So
just like the breakout out on the ice.
Exactly.
Just as we finish here, just tell me a little bit about how you size things up here. I mean, there's Matthias Ohlund, there's Sammy Sauer, there's Willie Mitchell, and after that, it looks like you kind of just roll the dice as far as there's some young guys. I mean, there's a couple of guys. Roy Fitzpatrick's been around a little bit. I mean, do you see some good opportunities at the back end on this hockey team?
For sure. I mean, that's one of the reasons I came here. I looked at the lineup. I looked at the type of hockey I thought they wanted to play, and that's why I try to come here. But at the same time, they know what kind of game I can play, and organization they all know what kind of player I am. So it's a matter of, can I do it again? Can I do it better? And do I fit in the system or not? If they need a player that's more defensively, I can be as good as I want. If I don't fit the picture they want, it's not going to happen. So the only thing I can do right now is show the stuff I could do before, and I can do again, and hopefully it fits in the picture. But I try not to look at the other guys and say, I rank this, that number. I should, try to be better than that guy, because at the end, it's all about being a team and being able to play together. So I try not to look at it that way.
Training camp's one thing. You won't have to wait long to get into some game action. Will that be a thrill after having gone away, and you said knowing what was back here? I mean, even if it's preseason, just throwing on an NHL jersey and getting back on the ice.
For sure. I've been waiting the whole season was up and down, because I wasn't supposed to be out of my contract in Germany. And even though I had an offer in Vancouver, I still had my contract in Germany. So it was up and down, and the whole time I was looking at the chance to play again in a game here. So whenever that chance comes, then it's going to be a thrill for sure.
There you go. A good chance to learn a little bit more about Yannick Tremblay, a guy here battling for a job on defense with this Vancouver Canucks hockey team. And, hard to call him a prospect, a guy that's played in the National Hockey League at 30 years of age. Probably his final good chance to get back into the league on a full-time basis. A pilot's license, though. Interesting guy, a nice guy, and certainly my first chance to visit with him. So there you go. Hopefully you know a little bit more about a guy like Yannick Tremblay, because I do think he probably will be around here certainly to start this coming National Hockey League season. As we wind things down, the first of our 2 weekend training camp shows from Vernon. Hopefully you enjoyed what we were able to present today. Looking forward to tomorrow, because finally we'll get a little bit to chew on. I mean, 2 days into camp, and really no hints yet on who's going to play on the right side on those top 2 lines or defensive pairings and things like that. But I do think with a short camp and really only 1 scrimmage planned, we'll probably get an idea. I would think that the Canucks would want to use the scrimmage here in Vernon tomorrow to test out some guys and look at some line combinations and things like that. So when we hit the air tomorrow, the puck will be dropping for the scrimmage, 11 o'clock. If you're thinking of coming up from Vancouver, a little day trip, maybe a bit far for a day trip, but there are enough hardcore Canuck fans out there that somebody probably is thinking about doing that. 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, the scrimmage here in Vernon. Now, I was hoping that somebody in the media scrum was going to ask Alain Vigneault about the guys that will take part. I would think as we hit the air 3 hours ago, we told you that all 3,000 seats here in the Vernon and District Multiplex have been sold out for this scrimmage. I mean, it's a big deal here. And so, people aren't paying money, and I don't know what they were charging for tickets to a scrimmage, but people aren't paying money to see the Black Aces. People want to see Marcus Naslund. They want to see Roberto Luongo. They want to see Brendan Morrison. And so my guess is that the big names will be in uniform. With 50 guys here, obviously there's too many for everybody to play, but we'll find a lineup. We'll pass them along to you. And certainly as things unfold tomorrow, we will have it for you. Again, it's like training camp in real time. If you can't be here in Vernon, hey, we're happy to be your eyes and your ears, and we're delighted that you were able to join us for our extended training camp coverage here on the Team 1040. Training camp coverage brought to you by Nedco Cellular, your Rogers wireless dealer. Get the Rogers 7130G BlackBerry in your hockey bag today. Nedco Cellular, 1807 Burrard, and presented by Tireland for quality products like Michelin, BF Goodrich, and Uniroyal with exceptional service at a competitive price. You can trust the pros at Tireland. Tireland with over 40 locations to serve you. That is pretty much going to do it for our hockey discussion, but don't you dare forget that we come your way with football tonight here on the Team 1040. 7 o'clock kickoff, the pregame show at 5. The Lions and the Montreal Alouettes. Rick Ball, Julio Caravetta with all the action for you. Scotty Rintoul to set the table, too. So we'll be listening to the Lions and the Alouettes, and we'll see if the Leos can make it 7 straight victories. Got to thank all of our guests, too many of them to mention. But we thank everybody for contributing to the project and to our training camp coverage here from Vernon this afternoon. Mike Whittingham, our executive producer, doing the technical stuff as well. Robbie Gray, the program director. He drove up earlier today and is on hand. Our thanks to John Shorthouse, Kristen Reed, and everybody that helped out at this end. And thanks to the callers that got through in hour number 1. We'll open up the phones for you again on the program tomorrow. And certainly a full recap and reaction from the training camp scrimmage as the Canucks wrap up day number 2, head into day 3 here in the North Okanagan. Once again, that is going to do it for our training camp coverage here on this Saturday afternoon. Back to do it again tomorrow, 11 until 2 o'clock. Hopefully you can join us then. We'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Jeff Paterson saying so long from the Vernon and District Multiplex. You're listening to the Team 1040. What?